All right, coming to you from Grogo Studios. This is the Musicians Insider. My name's Cronus, and I have a very special guest today, Rachel Ann Mullins. Yay!
Yay,
And
I am a special guest, that's correct.
And Rachel is a host of a podcast, and she's also an actress and producer, and she's a Hollywood insider. So I figured, why not bring her on the Musicians Insider, because music and Hollywood is all intertwined, and if not deeper than you even ever know. How are you today, Rachel?
I am. I'm in India, so it's like the start of the monsoon season, which is why my hair is so ratchet, because it's raining to beat the band outside. So
Well, good morning. It's bright and early. It's 10 a.m. for me. What time is it for you?
it's like the opposite for me. So it's like 8 o'clock at night.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast with me today. You want to tell me a little bit about what you've been up to for the past few years? We haven't connected in a while, and tell me about your latest, why you're in India.
My latest and greatest. Okay, so here's the crazy part. At the height of Corona time, the height of Corona hysteria in Hollywood, everything's shut down, everybody's wringing their hands, can't even hike Runyon Canyon. And I was like, you know what? Let me just throw all my stuff in a storage unit and take my dog, and we're gonna go to Bollywood, because I've had an agent here since like 2016, 2017, and him and I've always talked about me working here, but he's needed me to be in country for a while for that to work out. And back then I wanted to do it like a per project basis, like get me attached to a project, and then I'll come to India and then we'll do it and then I'll go back. Well, as it happens, because the borders were closed and they still are a year later, I have a special business visa here. So the only white people they let in this year is Rachel Mullins. So I got to come and be basically the the only white actress from Hollywood going. So I got really like literally I landed really late one night on September 2nd, and the next day I had an audition for Volkswagen. Like just quick, quickity quick. Um, and then since then I've got to do this really cool web series called Schutzpah that's coming out next month in June. And then I have another big, big Bollywood movie coming out in December, with like huge Bollywood actors, like sort of like the Indian version of Tom Cruise. And it would like being in Mission Impossible, basically, like, but the Bollywood version. It's amazing. My agent here is so fantastic. He's adorable. His name's Ravi. He's always got dollar signs in his eyes, and he's like, and we can do this, and you can direct a project, and blah, 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 blah. Like, he's just so exuberant. I wish I had 10 of him in like every market. I would be so happy.
You sound excited. Well, that's fun. Do you get to do stunts?
No, which is good because I don't stunt actually.
That's what I figured.
I don't stunt. I don't stunt so much that I don't even like watching other people do stunts. Like,
Fair enough.
this is such a silly example, but Dave Franco in the Magician movie, the Now You See Me, when they're doing all the car stunts, I'm like, little Dave's too small for that. I can't even watch it. If I read, if somebody sends me a script and got stunts in it, like, no, I won't. I'm not producing it. I'm not directing it. I'm not doing anything on it.
Okay, well, on a insider perspective, if someone sends you a script, who would send you a script? And if there's people out there with scripts, are you accepting scripts? Or do you have any advice for people that are trying to do things?
Well, I do get unsolicited scripts, and then I do have people that I kind of know, like in my peripheral, that I don't like know personally, but I know of around this, the ethos of screenwriting, that ask me for coverage, and I stopped doing coverage a few years ago, because it got to be too much, and I felt like people felt like they were entitled to it, which is a bad thing to do. Like, getting somebody to read your script is like a really big deal, and it's not something that you should just take for granted. Even if you're asking for a note pass, or you're asking for, to attach an actor or a crew position like a DP or literally anybody, getting somebody to read your script like a big deal. So I kind of worked out like a system for it, in that I don't like reading digital scripts. I like them to be printed and bound like old school. So
it filters out the people that don't do that.
Exactly. So I would be like, okay, send a copy over to the Kinko's and Toluca Lake across from the Chipotle that I'm going to be at anyway 5 days a week. And then I will go through, if it was like in a pre-approved version, I will go through and I will mark out your script, and I will do like not a full breakdown, but like a 75% breakdown, like from a producer standpoint of like the situation. But again, that's it.
How does it work with showrunners? Like, I don't do movies so much, so I'm not in that world, but like, do you have to have a showrunner, or what is a showrunner?
Okay, a showrunner.
That's more for TV shows. A lot of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's a major deal. Like, to be a showrunner is a super hard job, and it's not just something that happens. It is definitely like a career trajectory. And I think this about a lot of positions in entertainment, but this one in particularly, like, you can't teach somebody how to be a showrunner. Like, you can learn from mentors and like be in a lot of writers' rooms and like eventually move your way up. But a showrunner is basically like the head writer of the entire show, and they're running the entire writer's room and like the entire department, and they're guiding the ship. A lot of times showrunners also direct, or they're sometimes they're EPs, or sometimes they're producers. It depends on what they're trying to do with the award situation.
Are they involved in the funding?
Sometimes, for television funding, like, you're trying to get picked up by a network, but kind of like, if you have a really, like, say you are a screenwriter and you have a lit agent and you have a pop-in pilot script that is it's got juice. And if you attach a showrunner, that's a showrunner with also some juice, that's how you get to make cocktails most of the time. So being able to attach a showrunner is a really, really, really big deal, but they have to be a good one.
Gotcha. Anything exciting coming up with you? Like, I mean, obviously.
Work-wise, I actually just watched an e-commerce store the other day, bougie store, it's freck.com. And it sort of was born because there's this running joke, if you work for me, I'm a little bit bougie and a little bit ratchet and roll.
Oh, wait, repeat that. I think it cut out a little.
Yeah, somebody call me. So anyway, it was born because there's this running joke in production, and that if you work with me, I'm a little bit bougie and a little bit ratchet and roll, I'm both. So
I love it. So Detroit.
Is it? Well, because it's true. It's ghetto, but we get the job done. So that's kind of how it was born, and it's tie-dye jumpsuits and harem pants and hoodies that say "Thou shall not try me" 24/7, which is factually accurate. And there's going to be more stuff too coming down the pipeline, but that's the stuff that's on there for now.
And you partnered with one of your friends?
Oh, kind of. So as an influencer, you always get these unsolicited or sometimes solicited pitches from these brands, and oh, can you influence and post about my company? And a lot of times it is brands that could not be less aligned with who you are or who your following is. If I had $1 for every single time a coffee company pitched me, I don't drink coffee, I don't even know how to make it, I was at least ruined 3 different coffee machines on 3 different sets because I'm I don't know what to do.
That's hilarious.
So I went to my friends that are influencers, and I strategically bought things that their followers connect with. So it's usually I kind of went backwards on it. It's usually a brand's we're going to be like this, and this is our vision, and this is our whatever. And then they just mass pitch influencers to post about their stuff, whether or not it aligns or not. And then they, most of the time, this, because I learned SEO from you.
I'm so proud of you for getting a Twitter account. I wanted to say that because remember, you didn't want one.
I didn't want any of them, and you still have all of the passwords to everything because it's never changed. For better or for worse.
I keep things safe for you.
But at the end, of these campaigns, the brands are we didn't make any money, and that person didn't sell, and they didn't convert. And it's well, the thing that you have and the thing that their followers resonate with are two different things, and that's not necessarily going to translate to conversion for you. So so I kind of deconstructed that. So I do the buying based on my friends that I'm working with, based on their following and what they're into.
Very cool. So as a musician, what I do to try to get influence things happening is we go to the NAMM show, and I'm wearing these in-ear monitors. NAMM is awesome. I got these from 64 Audio, and I'm promoting them because I am one of their artists now, and I get it for artist pricing. Good. And these are the best 12 driver ones you can get. I got a new guitar over there. I got a lot of cool things that I get from influence. But when people approach my Instagram and say, hey, we love what you're doing, we want to, it's always, here's a code to get a percentage off our stuff. So they're not even approaching me. They're just trying to spam me to buy stuff. I can't even get to that level.
Oh, totally. That's a dime a dozen. There's so many of those, and I don't know how they survive with that business model, but I maybe they do.
There's so many wannabe influencers out there that just cling to this stuff, I guess. But
ain't it the truth though? Ain't it the truth? I don't know. It's so weird because I feel like I was doing stuff long before the term influencer was coined, and back when people were saying tastemaker or promoter, and none of those things really truly did the thing.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I when I saw your No Filter Friday podcasts, it kind of just reminded me of hanging out and talking to you.
That's
and
what
I was
a lot of people say.
And I haven't seen you in a long time, and I was like, oh, what's she up to? And now I'm I feel like I've caught up now without having to even. This is the first time. I don't think I've seen you since that James Cameron party.
Probably not. Probably
Oh
not.
my, and like, and I thought it'd be funny to talk about some stuff like that. Like, that's funny. That was a funny night. Right?
It
Like,
was a funny night, dude.
wow.
It's so crazy to watch one of the most guys that's like one of the runs the most wasteful sets in the history of Hollywood get up and talk about environmentalism like for 40 minutes. Like,
Oh,
bro.
and people were talking over him.
Yes. Yes. It was the mess. It was it was a good party, but it was James Cameron talking, but keynoting
And
was a mess.
and I brought a lot of my friends. Like I even brought my friend Bob. He's a screenwriter. I want to connect you to him actually. He was there. I brought Zhenya. I brought my other friend. She and I performed at the Viper Room for my album a couple years back. I also brought just several friends that I knew that would go to these things. And I remember bringing you and one of your friends who I'd met, and I didn't realize she was there. That was really funny because I'd met her in Park City, Heather.
Yeah. Dude,
Oh,
we had a ton of people there that night. 'Cause I have like red carpet pictures like Joanna Krupa, and then at the
Paris
end of the night
Hilton
I ran
was with you guys.
Paris Hilton was DJing, and I ran into her manager Jamie Freed's been a friend of mine for a long time. And then at the end, like Taylor Armstrong came popping out of nowhere, and she's like giving hugs, and being like, "I love you." Like it was, it was an evening.
And I didn't know your friend that I knew had gotten the ticket through you because I had given you the ticket. And she
I
told
think
me,
our public.
no,
I
I
think
got you two extra tickets through my buddy Mike because they were supposed to be like $2,000 tickets, but they were giving them away for $40 before the night was over to people. It was kind of weird how they did that. And it was kind of a sketchy party.
Because like maybe I don't know, because I know we had a publicist walk us on the carpet. Like I feel like that's back when Tad was handling carpet for us. Because
Well, I
I did a
remember
lot of
what
interviews
was
that night.
what was really funny was our mutual friend had told me that she got tickets from you, and I remember you'd asked me for two extra tickets. So I'm like, oh my god, those are the tickets I gave you. It was so funny.
It's a circle.
But
It's a circle.
I like how we're able to, share the, like when people have invites to things and try to put people on lists, you try to hook everyone up. I haven't really had any hookups in a while, but in Toronto I got to see Steel
I
Panther.
think how did Steel Panther make it to Toronto? Explain to me the logistics, because now this is a physics equation.
Okay, well, do you know how I was working with Jay Rustin? He was in our band
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, and then when we all kind of came to LA, he's now their producer or whatever. So I'd said, hey, I'm going to see them in Toronto. It's the same night Metallica was playing too, and we couldn't get the small club Metallica tickets, but I was like, let's get on. It was my buddy's birthday, so we got tickets to Steel Panther thanks to Jay, and got to do the guest list thing. And they're signed to Universal now. People don't get naked on stage anymore, and it's more cleaned up, but it's definitely
Oh,
worldwide.
what? What? That's not Steel Panther.
I
It's not
know
House of Blues.
it's
Not
not
Steel
Steel
Panther.
Panther. Key Club is when we really when it was crazy, but they're awesome. I love those guys, and they're hilarious. Really good musicians. They're comedians. Comedy. Let's talk about comedy. You're funny. Have you ever thought of doing comedy?
People ask me that a lot. I prefer my comedy in a video-based sort of format. Like
Produced.
I really I really like taking comedic parts in movies or TV shows. And as far as like making my own stuff, I like I like doing sort of like, I guess you could call them like short films, like probably longer form. It would like if you were to put it in like an improv sort of category, it'd be like a longer form sketch, I guess you could say. I mean, not like a 90-minute Harold.
Sketch comedy.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily, but like written sketch that translates. Like I made me and my friend from Warner Brothers, Jason Schultz, and then Rachel Sterling made this short film for PGA a couple of years ago. That year the honoree was Mike Nichols. So we made this sort of like The Graduate-esque kind of a thing, and I got to be Mrs. Franklin. And it was like that's the
So wait, I know who Mrs. Robinson is. Who's Mrs. Franklin?
yeah. So the honoree for that year's PGA short situation was Mike Nichols. So we could sort of took our own spin on Mrs. Robinson. So I was Mrs. Franklin.
Got you. I love it. I see, and I know you're an Audrey Hepburn fan too. I can just every time I see stuff about her, it makes me think of your stuff.
You know, I haven't gotten that in a while, and I'm kind of salty about it. It's a little upsetting. Like, wait a second.
Well, you haven't been acting like her as much. You used to act like her, like, you know, you expect the powder room stuff, and you talk her or like just look at people. That was your thing, and now you're more chill.
I mean, I think I really like after doing a couple projects, like I really think I found my direction and like the genres that I like and what resonates with me.
Your niche.
And
what is your niche?
And like well, I mean that kind of goes back to that bougie ratchet thing. There's a couple genres that I really, really love. Like I really like stuff that's like single location and just a couple actors. Like the One I Love and Match are really great examples of that. Even though the actors are, you know, amazing. It's like the Duplass brothers and, you know, the other one's Patrick Stewart and Carla Gugino. So I really like single location, like just letting the dialogue and the art of cinematography tell a story. And then I also really like as far as like directing and producing goes, like really dark stuff, like super heavy subject material, I really resonate with because again, I'm from Detroit, so
I thought you were from Paris, France. I thought you were from Paris.
Nobody gets that joke on my Facebook. Like it hasn't landed ever, and it's been up there for probably like 10 years now.
What's the joke?
It's not going on. Okay, so in The Devil Wears Prada, the guy that plays the mentalist, he's like, I'm from wherever, but Paris is my hometown. And that's the joke that's in my Facebook. And literally no one gets it. People they're like, are you really from? No, I'm
going to be honest.
Obviously.
I was afraid to even say you're from Detroit because I thought maybe you weren't telling people that. I'm like, why she got Paris, France there? It's got to mean something funny to do with that. I wasn't sure if you were afraid to be like, you didn't want people to know you were American, or if you were trying to say, I thought that was hilarious, but I haven't talked to you about it because you didn't have Facebook.
Back in the day. Yeah. No, I don't think I could hide any of those things. And like the further abroad I go, the more American I become. Like when Angela and I went to Cannes, we remember that we didn't even know each other. And she just came bopping down the street and she's like, oh, Rachel, because I look so tragically American in the sea of Europeans. Like, that's got to be the chick. I've never met her, but it's got to be her.
That was so funny. Angela Cullens, Rachel Mullins, the Ullens. I wanted to take credit for that series. Collectively. But I never saw it.
You still might. You never know. You still might.
That's cool. I actually reconnected with her a little bit online a couple years back. She's out west, but she seems to be happy and fun. But I don't think she's working in that field anymore. I could be wrong.
She's doing things. Don't quote me. Her and I went to Vegas a couple years ago together. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen her since.
We went to Vegas completely comped for like a whole weekend. So she had a client that sent her to Vegas for something for the weekend, and I was like, I'm coming, because I had a photo shoot with my friend Joel, and so we stayed in her place, and then I got my friend Sheena was doing the show at the Paris, sex tips from gay men that straight women should know. Anyway, Sheena was starring in this. It's a very funny show, and the guy that is like the gay guy giving us up, that his name's Chester, and he's hilarious. But we went and did that show at the Paris, and that was really, really fun. And then I knew a promoter from Hyde who worked at Hyde then, back when I knew him. He didn't work at Hyde. And I was at the Hermes store in the Bellagio at like midnight, smelling perfume and squeezing Birkins. And he's like, Rachel, come inside. And I'm like, you got the champagne? It's like, of course I have champagne for you. What do you think this is? The Dark Ages? Like, great. So then her and I ended up doing that. And then I had my photo shoot, and I think we went to the pool, and like that was that. But we did it all for free.
So I actually, over the last year, I actually had my Vegas moment. Um, I met a friend at Burning Man, and we've been going to Vegas together. She's a high-end gambler, and we would get everything comped. And we're talking like the expensive tables and like MGM
Oh
Park,
yeah.
not the other place. Oh my
Not that,
God.
not that grand nonsense.
None of that's
Yeah. Oh,
MGM
totally.
Grand crap where last time I was there, literally someone pooped in the main thing and they were cleaning it
Yeah.
up.
The riffraff.
Yeah.
The riffraff. Yeah,
But
that's the secret to Vegas. If you can dedicate 4 hours of
yeah.
play per day to the casino floor, they will give you the earth, sun, moon,
Our
stars,
entire
all of it.
every trip was comped and every food we would just eat in the diamond room and things like that. So that was pretty nice. Hopefully that'll happen again. Crunch is in Vegas. Did you know that? Our friend.
I did not. I talked to him not all that long ago, probably like a year ago, but I didn't know he was in Vegas. So that's a good spot for him, though.
I'm gonna get him on here on a podcast. He called me yesterday. I've been helping him with his ability to use GarageBand. Oh, he's hilarious. Like, I mean, he had COVID, but he had gone shooting guns or something in the desert with his friends, and they were driving around and they hit a pothole and it messed up his back. So the next thing you know, he's in the hospital with his back, and I don't know, like
how he likes having his surgery.
He went to Burning Man last year. Like, he actually does crazy shit.
He's such an incredible human being. We're so lucky to like live in an era at the same time as John Draper.
I'll have to do a Zoom call with you and him just to catch up sometime. But oh my Lord, he's hilarious. I took him to see Ready Player One, the movie in Vegas. That's the video game-ish movie, but there's a book, and in the book there's these 3 keys that they basically, the world of Ready Player One is like it's like a Unity world where they built like an Unreal Engine world where there's a whole gaming world, and the guy who made it is dying or is going to die, and when he dies he wants to leave it to a gamer, not to the corporations. So he has like this challenges set up, right? So if you can get the 3 keys, you win the whole thing. In the original book, one of the 3 keys is the Captain Crunch whistle.
Stop. It's like a Horcrux. Oh my God.
So I took John to see the movie in Vegas of Ready Player One, where now they have like DeLoreans are flying around. It's all like video game stuff. It's really, really cool. There's no mention of the Captain Crunch whistle, but I took him to see the movie. That was pretty cool.
You know, that was a gross misstep on their part, but yeah, that's a good place for him. He's such an incredible person. He really.
Well, you know, I remember you were very nice to him when you would make Thanksgiving dinner for him and things like that. I think that was really sweet.
Yeah, we did Thanksgiving for him, Christmas. I would always make him snacks at the office too at Intego, and he hated all of them.
Santa Crunch?
Every single snack I made. Yeah, he hated them. He would come, he would be like, "What is this?"
No, he can't eat. His teeth are fucked, right? I mean, he's okay, but I'm just saying he has a hard time eating some things. But he's
hated every snack I make. Every Thanksgiving and every Christmas dinner, totally into it. Snacks, absolutely not. I got an ass in snacks.
I have a Captain Crunch whistle. I'm gonna get him on the podcast here in a few days. That should be interesting. And so, by the way, these are coming out every Wednesday. Today we're going to post one that I did with Moses Avalon. He's a friend of mine in LA, and then we'll post this one on next Wednesday. Tomorrow I'm interviewing Chris Brogan, marketer. He's awesome. He's someone who does keynotes. And then I have Steve Thompson, who produced and mixed Korn, 7 Grammys. He did Guns N' Roses and Metallica, mixed Appetite for Destruction and Metallica's Injustice for All, the 2 records I grew up with. So I'm interviewing him on Friday. He's a friend of mine, and we've done some pretty cool stuff together we can talk about. So a lot of neat things coming along the pipeline. Really cool to have you on here. Well, why don't we wrap up this? I'll stop the recording, and then we can just catch up on anything else. So anything you want to mention that you have coming up before we end?
Or
plug away.
I don't necessarily have anything coming up, but I will say this. I do make a lot of music videos that are like artist breaky sort of music videos. I did one last year for Hannibal Luna with the ACLU that like blew all the way up. And then I did this other one for Rita Rumprost, and we got great traction for her. We got her on Pluto TV, we got her on Reverie, and it was her first video. So
any advice for artists? Yeah.
If you are in the neighborhood for a music video that you need to break yourself with, or you need to jump from to one teetery Mario level to the other, let me know and we'll see if we can get something together.
All right, I think I know someone who might call you. See, I'm pretty funny. I actually did one stand-up at Flappers. That told me that. So this is my first stop on the I'm Not a Budding comic tour. Thank you. Took some notes. I saw Tosh do this. He does this, so you're allowed to do this. All right.
Flappers.
It's on my Facebook. Scroll back and type Flappers, and you'll see it. I'd love your opinion. I was gonna do. My whole plan was to do one at Flappers, and then maybe do one at like the Improv, and then just pretend to be a comedian, but never do any other shows, and just use that in my demo, to try to get gigs as an actor. But I'm not an actor.
Well, the thing is, it's like stand-up. A lot of people aren't actually stand-up comedians. They use stand-up as a vehicle to get auditions because for whatever reason, you have to prove you're funny in Hollywood. So if you're not going to do like Second City or Groundlings or any of that stuff, people are like, I'll do stand-up. And if you want to play the Canoga Park bowling alley, do it.
And there's
it'll teach you how to be on stage for sure.
Well, like you said, Groundlings and the other one, but there's another one in I forget, in Franklin Village. What's it called?
UCB?
Yeah.
UCB.
Upright Citizens Brigade. Can't not mention that if you're going to mention that. That's pretty cool.
Fine.
All right. Fine. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I look forward to seeing more of your No Filter Fridays and the movies you're filming and everything that's coming out. I'll be sure to share it when it comes out. And with that, thanks very much. Have a wonderful rest of your trip. And I will end it there.
Thank you. You too.
Well, I've been black and bright with thoughts of you. Do you remember me? 'Cause I remember you. Silver like a chain around your name, silver like a chain around your name, a painting. The closets in your eyes, they expose the bones. This day is all yours. You, then you will remember me. Now you're screaming and you're bleeding while you're shining and you're beaming. Can't get this noise out of my head now. This bulletproof heart ain't so bulletproof, and it pierces through. And she's twisted too. This knife is your tattoo. I wanna forget now. I wanna forget now. It's the way you look, the way you turn, the way you smile at me. If I don't remember you, then you won't remember me. Remember you, then you will remember me. I wanna forget now. I wanna forget now. It's the way you look, the way you turn, the way you smile at me.
without further ado, hi, I'm Cronus, and this is episode 2 of the Musicians Insider. And today we're talking with Moses Avalon, who's been a pretty good friend of mine for more than a decade now. And I think we first met when I was following your mailing list back before I left Ottawa to hit the States. So that was in like 2002 or 3. So it's been a long time. I guess the first time we met was when I came to your place to discuss all things internet and music. So I think maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing over the past 20 years and how you've been a music industry advocate and some of the books you've written. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, please, Moses.
Hey, Aaron. Well, I started off in the music business as a producer engineer. I play a few instruments, and I quickly realized, I wasn't good enough to make a living as a musician, but I was probably good enough to record them. And so I started a small recording studio, which I ran out of my bedroom, and produced a lot of acts for $25 an hour. And eventually one thing led to another. I ended up with a studio gig. Then eventually I got my break working on a couple of big acts. One of them won a Grammy, and then that led to a whole bunch of other things. And at some point in late 1990s, I got kind of tired with the producing component, because I saw what was happening in the industry, and saw what I was going to do to have to compete, and decided to get out of the music industry by writing a book called Confessions of a Record Producer. And I wanted to pursue writing as a career. And I thought the book would get me out of the music industry, and it did the polar exact opposite on steroids, because the book became a hit, and then there were 2 others that followed it, and I started getting a lot of phone calls as a kind of a go-to, consultant, guru, whatever. And then attorneys started calling me to do what's called expert witness testimony. That's when you testify in a court about the standards and practices of a particular area of expertise, in this case, the music business. And I testified a number of landmark cases. And so that, while trying to get out of the music industry, it just like Al Pacino and Godfather, just pulled me back in.
Are there any cases we can talk about, or that you can mention, any big ones?
It would take too long. If you go to my website, you can see a number of the cases that I'm allowed to talk about are listed under my client list. But it's mosesavalon.com. And let me see, doing various areas of consulting, and did that for like 15 years, maybe more. And then I decided, it's time to kind of maybe even retire from that. And so I said, what do I want to do? I like smoking cigars. I like hanging out with my friends. So I opened a cigar lounge called Ash, which is where we are coming to you live from right now. I'm standing in front of a bay of member lockers. These are all lockers that belong to the members of our lounge.
It looks like a library cabinet.
It actually comes from a hardware store in Portland, Oregon. This is about 100 years old. And we retrofitted it to be lockers for cigars to keep them humid, and this is where our members keep all their stuff. And they come here and they smoke their cigars. We just hang out and talk about anything.
It's a cigar. It's like a cigar. It's like a cigar spa.
Yes, that's a great name for it, cigar spa. I don't know if Zoom will let me flip the camera. Let me see if it'll let me do that.
I hope so.
I don't think it lets me. Oh yeah, here we go. So we can flip the camera here.
All right, so just move it slow. Move it slow. Keep it steady.
Okay, do a walkthrough. This is our retail center. This is where you come in and you buy a cigar, or 2, or 10. And this is a hermetically sealed closet for your coat and your bag. Through here is a special lounge we call the Illuminati Lounge. This is where for guests for our members who need a little bit more privacy. We watch movies in here on the weekends. And then our big lounge is over 2,000 square feet. It's the largest cigar lounge in Los Angeles. And this is, we call this the Commons. There's my dog having a nap over there. This is one of our members who's in here almost every day. How you doing? And it's where people just hang out, smoke their cigars, play chess, watch the news, watch people walk by on Hollywood Boulevard.
Where are you located? Hollywood and
Western.
Oh, beautiful. I used to live near there. That was the freeway exit I used to take.
You can go to ashloungela.com and read all about us. Or you can follow us on Instagram at ash_lounge.
I'll put it up. Now I'm curious to know what Sorry, go ahead.
I said I'm here most of the time, and like, for example, I'm still connected to a lot of music people, as you know. And about 2 weeks ago, a couple Fridays ago, there's a whole bunch of them showed up here impromptu and did this jam session. These are all these, great 80s studio session singers and musicians. They just showed up here and jammed out to about 1 a.m, singing all these like classic, singing Whitesnake songs and things like that, and Foreigner and like all the great hits from the 80s. And they loved it so much, they plan to come back and make a habit out of it. So if you come and hang out here, that's the kind of thing you might see.
I love it. I think that's really, it reminds me of kind of what you were doing in your own backyard for a while, and now you've taken it to the passion to the next level.
Exactly. I just basically took my lifestyle and duplicated it in a commercial environment, in a retail environment.
Well, that's really neat. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about back before, like, in more chronologically here, like what got you involved in NAMM, the NAMM show? Because that's where we kind of started doing important stuff together the first time anything was really, coming together when I first moved to Los Angeles. And I was just curious how you got into that world. I guess it's just that where you have to be, but how did that start? Because you really introduced me to a lot of people.
Well, NAMM is the largest music conference in the world. I believe it's over 60,000 people, something like that, over 4 days. It basically takes over all of Anaheim, California. And I can't remember what my initial introduction was, probably through Hal Leonard Books, because Hal Leonard Books has an enormous booth there, and my books are all published on Hal Leonard. And I probably said I'm going to be at NAMM. You should come to NAMM, and it's an opportunity for me to sit down with my publisher, because they're in Milwaukee, and I don't get to see them. I just talk to them on the phone. So I got to meet the sales reps. I started going to NAMM, and then eventually NAMM asked me to be a keynote speaker, and then they asked me the next year and the next year and the next year. And because of that, I'm able to get, if you're on my mailing list, which is free, you can get a pass to go to NAMM for $25. And I've gotten, I don't know, probably several thousand people passes by this point,
right,
to go to NAMM on various years. And that's how I got involved with it. And they keep asking me to speak. And as long as they keep asking me to speak, I'll keep doing it.
And as you know, this is the Musicians Insider podcast. So a lot of musicians are trying to figure out, how can I get to NAMM? So if you don't know how to get to NAMM, I'll put a link up to Moses's site and information on how you can get a pass for $25 if you want to go next year.
Just sign on my mailing list, and I send out a notice usually around September, announcing what the specifications are to get a $25 pass, and just go to the link and fill out the form, and you're in.
The biggest problem most musicians have with the NAMM is the registration is they do it too late and they miss it for the year. So just know that you need to do it like September for the show. That's cool. Appreciate that. And also, thankfully, because I'm in the SEO field, obviously I was able to get on a few panels thanks to you. I appreciate that. The Hot Zone panels, we did some SEO things. I remember I was filming some stuff for you, and it was interesting to just be in that sort of similar, like the SEO world I've been in from my day job sort of thing, but with a music connection to it. So it was really cool to go to that. Let's see here. Any thoughts on the future of music, or what advice might you have for new musicians who have a CD but don't know what to do next, aside from trying to perform?
A CD, my advice would be to,
an album.
On streaming.
When I say CD, I mean a finished product that's got 10 or 12 songs on it, and then wherever that can be. But what would you recommend for someone in that situation?
I mean, the first thing, I wouldn't recommend anybody record. Well, you can record 10 or 12 songs at a time. I understand that the economics make sense to do that, but I don't know if I would release 12 songs at a time on an album. And I've been saying this for years before it became standard practice at labels. You want to release like 3 or 4 songs at once, and do it in buckets of 3 or 4 songs every 4 or 5 months. That way you keep your listeners, your fans engaged. I would say, you need to be fluent in social media. If you're not, you have to hire someone who is. It's absolutely essential. TikTok is essential. YouTube, I would say, was essential, maybe still is essential, but there are alternatives now to YouTube, thankfully. Instagram is essential. My Fans, I think, is a great place for an independent band to start building a following. They'll actually pay you if you can bring people in. And I don't know, even clubs won't pay you to bring fans in. You still have to pay a club. So here's a website that actually pays you to bring fans in. I think it's all about social media and all about just getting your music out there through the various platforms, all of them. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I think they all have their use. Even Facebook, which is mostly for people my age, but people my age still buy records. They still buy records by young bands as well. So all these are essential. You need someone on your team who's fluent in social media, and that would be my recommendation. And of course, getting on streaming services, getting on Spotify, getting on Apple Music. None of these things are hard to do anymore. There used to be huge gatekeepers to get to these places. Now you can do it, through any one of a number of reasonably priced aggregators. So that would be my recommendation.
Now, the problem is if everyone has a band that's on Spotify, how do you get heard and how do you get the gigs? Like, what is the way to take it to the next level? Because there's so many companies out there that offer streaming services to promote your music, but in reality, it's not helping the artist at all. It's just inflating numbers with perhaps fake playlists or scams and just a lot of selling the dream going on. So I'm trying to help people figure out how to get through that.
Selling the dream is always going to be a viable business as long as you have any business where the supply of content outweighs the demand of content, and where people are very desperate to get heard and get noticed. I don't have a soundbite piece of advice to avoid any of these scams. It's a very complex subject. I recommend you read. I've written 4 books on the subject. I recommend you pick up one of them. I know that sounds self-serving, but
no, I think that's
your
advice has been very helpful in the past, and you understand how to research. Like when the market isn't working, you switch your gears onto something else. Now, I've seen you do that. That's why I'm thinking. I know you think that why would you ever want to be an artist? Well, the answer is it's going to happen. People want to be artists. So how do they break through the mold? And I know there's a lot of new music technology coming. Like we were talking about this on the last podcast, the spatial audio is coming, and there's so you can still be $1 million production because you can have cameras all over the stage now. But what do people do to prepare for that? One of the things is to make sure you have all your masters split apart so you can do more of the techie things happening, have your stems available and access to that.
I look at a company called Stemify. Stemify is the only company I'm aware of that's actually invested in stems as a viable product. So now all of your individual tracks could be thought of as individual pieces of content. And they're still a new company. I know the CEO, and he's very passionate about music and always has been. He actually envisioned the first digital record company before Amazon even started selling CDs. Back in 1996, I believe, is when I first met him. And we've been friends, since then. And he's not so big that an independent artist can't make a deal directly with him yet.
I'd love to talk to him.
He's making deals. Yeah, I'll put you in touch with him. His name is Josh Kaplan. So I know he's making deals with major labels. He may already have a few in place. And then there will be that point where he will be too big. So right now he's still new. You can still get in there, and your individual tracks, your bass lines, your drum loops, your guitar licks, these are all pieces of your music that can be commoditized and monetized, and you should do that.
Like just the solo from one song might be perfect for in The Simpsons when Otto's driving and he's playing the solo to Metallica's One for a second. That sample was a perfect use case.
That's right.
I'm just looking at my Metallica pick. I always have a reference to some sort of pick. Any artists that you're noticing lately that have caught your eye or attention?
And I wish I had a good answer for that. I'm ashamed of myself. I've been so absorbed in the creation of Ash, and as you know, I have a new book coming out in September under my non-Moses name, which is the biggest book I've ever written, and so I've been absorbed in the pre-promotion for that. I just wanted to apologize to the entire independent music community and say I have not kept up. I have not, listened to any new stuff, and that's a shunna on me. It's a shame on me that I haven't done that. So I don't have a great answer for you, and I wish I did.
Well, okay. So to make sure your apology does get to your audience, I ask that you please retweet this podcast when it goes live so that they can actually see it, because they're not going to know about this unless you send it to them. Okay. I'm excited. I got some cool guests. I got Steve Thompson coming on this week. He's a producer that has done a lot of really cool things, and we've worked together and hung out a lot, and I can't wait to talk about that. What else do we want to talk about? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about? Anything you want to ask me? anything on your mind, or anything you want to promote? You can tell me more about your cigar lounge or anything else, but I think we got most of that.
Well, this is a very music-friendly place. You want to come here and bring your instrument, a couple friends, hang out for a little bit, jam, have a cigar while you're doing it. You don't have to be a cigar smoker. We have the most advanced and cleanest air system in all of California. We clean air 12 times an hour through these very advanced, let me see if I can flip the camera around and show it to you. We have these very special fans. I don't know, is that a good shot there? Can you see that spinning?
That's really cool. I think George Burns would approve.
He would, and there's 8 of these fans all along the ceiling lines, and they get over 85% of the smoke. And if that's not enough, then we have these big vents over here. Those are 3,500 CFM. So basically, this is all technical mumbo jumbo. That means we clean air 12 times an hour. And to give your listeners a comparison, hospitals only clean their air 8 times an hour. So the air here is extremely clean, despite the fact that people smoke. And so you could be sitting on one end of this lounge and doing your work, and someone could be, several booths over smoking. You might smell a little bit of the aroma of premium tobacco, but you're not going to be breathing the smoke, and that's a big deal. And that's why we are very popular with the ladies. We get a lot of ladies coming in here, some of whom are career cigar smokers, and some of whom never smoked cigars before. And we really think of cigars not like a big cigarette, which is a mistake. We think of it more like a fine wine.
Yeah, I was thinking wine too.
Something you do on occasion, something that's designed to be appreciated and understood, not just consumed.
Also, you could look that way about coffee, because I know you treat coffee really respectfully. And I wanted to ask your question. So how does this work with relation to the cannabis industry, like at all? How does there any, I just thought I'd ask that question because people are wondering.
I'd have to say there's no relationship whatsoever. Cigar people and cannabis people simply don't eat lunch in the same cafeteria, if you know what I mean. The laws in California are, everyone thinks California is very cannabis friendly. Try to start a cannabis business, you'll find out how wrong that is. It's extremely regulated. Any kind of business that has anything to do with tobacco, kratom, cannabis, hemp, falls under intense amounts of regulation that will make it prohibitive for most people to go into business. The way we do it, the way we circumnavigate that is this lounge is not just a cigar lounge. In fact, I sometimes push back on that when I talk to reporters and say that's overly reductive. We are a shared workspace, just like WeWork or Newhouse or Second Home, except that in none of those places can you take a break and have a smoke. And I've been in the music business most of my life and in the arts most of my life, and many creative people I know consider smoking a part of their creative process. And so when I saw these big, very expensive shared workspaces in Hollywood supposedly catering to the creative community, and yet they don't even have a break room or a balcony or an atrium or any place where you can grab a smoke, I was appalled. And that's why I said there's got to be a market for people who want to work and smoke in the same location. I created this, and I like to say now that if you like to work and you like to smoke at the same time or around the same time, then Ash is not your best friend.
My neighbor gave me a nice piece of carrot cake. I appreciate it. You're so sweet. Thank you. Sorry about that. Without getting political or anything like that, I envy you. We are completely 100% locked down right now in Ontario, Canada. I can't get a haircut. I can't go to anything. Like Subway is like takeout only. Most things are closed. It's in another 12 days. So I hope things are, I'm so happy for you to be able to have your lounge like you are. I wanted to mention that. It's been rough.
Thanks. I'm just saying, if you like to work and smoke, then this is the place where you can come and not be shamed and be happy and, work on we have high resolution monitors, network printers. We're a fully functioning shared workspace and office and a cigar lounge.
Now, aside from Buddy, what's the animal policy?
You can bring your dog as long as they're well behaved.
There you go. That's pretty great. I'm really proud of you. I know this was one of your sort of brainchilds and almost like bucket list. You want to do these things for some time. So to see it actually in action is wonderful. I'm proud of you, Josh. So Moses Avalon is who we're talking to. I call him Josh sometimes, but mosesavalon.com is his music industry advocacy site where we initially met. And I appreciate your time today showing me the lounge, and I hope to come and see you sometime there, maybe play some music, acoustic or something. Are you going to be having like a little stage there that's going to be broadcasting on the internet or something soon?
I don't think we'll be doing that soon. We have a number of other rudiments to get in place before we start trying to build upon our licenses. You need special licenses to do that in Los Angeles, and I don't want to pursue those licenses at the time. But I don't think anything would stop you from coming in for your acoustic guitar, playing a few tunes, entertaining some of my lounge guests. I'm sure they'd love it. So yeah, you can do that.
Right on. Anything, what's the future look like for you? Have you heard about the Apple 3DO launch coming? Any thoughts on that?
Don't have any information on it, and I have no thoughts on it. As I said, I've been completely focused on my lounge, and the other half of me is being focused almost entirely on the finishing up of my personal memoir, which is coming out in September on Chicago Review Press, and we'll do another podcast about that. So
I'm excited about that one.
There is very little about the music industry in the book, but if you're ever curious about how a recording engineer, transformed into an artist rights advocate with a secret name, this book is kind of like my origin episode.
I love this Boba Fett origin story. Definitely a passion project. I know that Moses has been working on for a long time, and I'm very excited for him to have this release.
All they have to do is just go to my website and sign up for my mailing list, and I'll merge them into my other list, which is for the marketing of my memoir.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Musicians Insider. This is episode 2. Please definitely share it with your friends on Cronus.tv. Maybe we'll come to see you in Ash Lounge when we're allowed to visit again. And you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, Josh. All right. Thank you. Start things off the way we always do. So, hi everyone. My name's Cronus. Welcome to the Musicians Insider. Today we have a very special guest, Chris Brogan. Chris is president of Chris Brogan Media. They offer brand and digital content strategy as well as business strategy advisory services. He's a well sought after keynote speaker. That's how I've seen him initially, and a showrunner of The Backup Show. He's the New York Times bestselling author of 9 books and counting, and he's working on his 10th, The Backpack. So welcome to the show, Chris. How are you?
Thanks for having me on, Cronus. I'm doing super swell today.
We'll come back full circle to music soon. I think maybe let's start a little nerdy, though. I first saw you keynote speaking, like I was mentioning, at PubCon or SMX or something, and I was happy to be cheerfully kept awake by you. It was early by one of your presentations. I always, after that, made an effort to see your keynotes because, I've never been disappointed. So thank you for that. And maybe you could talk a little bit about affiliate marketing, and then afterwards, any suggestion for musicians.
I have said for years that I usually can make at least my mortgage. So I always figure out that at least I'm never going to live in a dumpster. I might have to eat out of the dumpster. But no, I've done affiliate marketing on and off since maybe 2009. It's never a primary part of my business. It's just something I do, one, for fun, and two, because I think it's, if you really advocate for a product, then there's no reason why you wouldn't suggest people to find it through a link. And so why not give them, I know no one ever buys me, like, I don't like have a stable full of ponies based on the things that I've ever given as an affiliate market, but if I say I really love this great, Yeti thermal mug, the hot stuff stays hot and the cold stuff stays cold, and then you buy one, I'll make like 89 cents. So I'm not going to betray your trust over it, but I really think you ought to buy a Yeti mug.
And you're humble. I'm also 3 podcasts in, so it's wonderful to have someone of your stature on here. Some background, actually. Interestingly, I worked with SEO Engine. And that's an actual Google simulator built from the white papers and published math about the search engines by Google. Their CEO, Scott Stouffer, went to Carnegie Mellon, and he even met Randy Pausch. Do you know who Randy Pausch is?
Sure, yeah.
That book, the last lecture. I don't read a lot of books or recommend books rarely, but that's one I would recommend highly. So on a side note, great book. But Scott actually had him as a teacher. And SEO Engine was brilliant at the time, and they created a predictive sort of search engine, and it was like lifting up the hood at Google. And they're now called Market Brew, and I recently filmed a testimonial for them. And the reason I'm just thinking about this is because I was researching your stuff, The Backpack Show, and I'm in Midland, Ontario, Canada, near Toronto. And I wouldn't have thought about this, but like literally 17 hours ago, I think you were live and you were talking to Colin. And
Colin Pape from Pre-Search.
He's from Midland. He's from down the street.
Right around the corner.
Like we're from
Small
this
planet.
tiny little town. It's so funny. I mean, that's the last guy you talked to. He's from literally the same bank right there. So I wouldn't have thought about it, but I was thinking, we've never worked together, and I give them kudos for trying. There was a time when I remember there was an argument about them being penalized, and then I saw in the podcast he was telling how they actually admitted to doing that to them. But when that was happening, I was working in LA at a search engine firm, and I remember we were kind of thinking, this is a bit like whining that you're not getting the results you want, because we were looking at the sites and they weren't really optimized. But then I know what happened, that they got penalized hard. So I just thought that was an interesting discussion to hear, because I haven't thought of that in a long time, and it's so super local to me.
I mean, that's to me the serendipity part of the web is the best part. I mean, I've given a talk called the Serendipity Engine, where in which I say there's this super intangible part of marketing, which is nothing more than just connecting and communicating. So when I talked to you today, you just happen to have caught what I was talking to Colin about yesterday. It turns out you're in the same town. That connection makes you feel unfairly warm towards me. Like, you know what I mean? Like that interview makes you go, oh, that Brogan's a nice guy. He interviewed a guy in my town. Like your brain makes all these connections that it really technically shouldn't. And I think that there's a benefit to that. And I also just think that there's kind of magic in that old silk hat, as they say.
And I want to be clear too, if Colin sees this, I'd love to have him on to talk about Pre-Search a little bit, to understand what they're doing, because I have no idea what they're doing these days. I know they've been working on it for a long time, so definitely interesting. I know I was kind of like, when they said they knocked our whole town offline, because Shop Midland, it was their thing, not Shop City, and they expanded it, but it wouldn't make sense to tell you that for him. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, isn't DuckDuckGo the Switzerland of search? I was going to ask you about that, because
you know, I know about 4% of search, and I would say that if someone said to me, where would you search if you weren't Google, until messing around with Pre-Search, I would have said DuckDuckGo. What I like is that, you know, he pointed this out too. It does have you right at that page, you know, linked to a whole bunch of other engines. You can go right from there to DuckDuckGo. Right on the same bar, and you can actually cook it your own. So like, for instance, I wanted to add Crunchbase to it because I use Crunchbase a lot to look up certain companies I'm doing business with. And so it wasn't that hard to cook another search in for that. So it's been interesting. The thing I actually found interesting most about it was this whole idea that you could use the crypto coins to anchor certain keywords and all that. I found that interesting, because, you know, the other way to do it is the way Google does it, which is you just buy. And, you know, this one is more like, if you hold coins that belong to this community, we'll just give you the vote. Like you get to pick that keyword.
Okay, so that's a really interesting thing to talk about. I think it's daring and bold. If you have the ability to do something like that, go for it. But I wouldn't want to bank my career or my company on something like crypto. It's so weird. But like, if you're a musician like Snoop Dogg, you can make a Snoop Dogg coin, you know, like, or something like artists like that could do if they're established. Everybody on the same label could have like a coin that's, you know, like that label's coin, and then artists can buy things and they can get coins at concerts or for doing activities within some sort of geofence. So I think there's a real opportunity maybe for artists like Marshmallow Dollar or something like that. But I think it's something you want to be careful with Bitcoin and making crypto. Like, it's kind of like, if everyone has one, it's not worth anything, right? So,
well, except that there's another area to that. I just read an article about this today, I mean, an hour before this show, which is that non-fungible tokens, what they are calling NFTs,
yes,
that allow people who maybe buy an album. In the way old days, you'd buy an album and it would say that, you know, 200 of these vinyl albums come with a poster, and you know, you go, oh man, I hope I get one with a poster, right? Well, they have similar kinds of things with these NFTs that they'll allow you to unlock certain pieces if you also buy one of these tokens. Now, it could be like, for a band that you really love, I could see that being quite interesting. Like, you know what I would love is, I would love a day of just wasted studio tape of, I don't know, the Foo Fighters or something. I would love to watch them screw off in the studio for an entire day, and I would pay premium money to have that, on top of the album purchase. So I think that there's some things there. Another way that I saw this used is when Patreon first came out, and then all of a sudden there were a lot of musicians who realized that people who really love certain parts of music, like uh, it wasn't Chad from the Chili Peppers, but I think he was the one who was mentioning it. He had a buddy who was a drummer, kind of like the second drummer in a band, in a rock band, meaning
Percussionist.
not the real, no, not the real guy, but the guy who came when the real guy left. And so he was like of the band, but he was nobody that you would know by name.
They're hired guns. They're hired
Exactly,
session players. I know lots.
Jason Newsted, as he was in Metallica for a couple of years. And the drummer put up a whole Patreon of things like, come hang out with me for the day. Let's do a drum session together. And people bought the crap out of it. He was making more money than some of the original band members were making because he was just never idle. He was just always, banking his time. So there's ways that you can monetize with that, but it's there's also kind of a back blow to that too, because then you suddenly seem like that guy that's nickel and diming everyone for anything you do in your time, and you don't want
there
to.
You go, right? It's all about the mysterious rock star suddenly selling his wares like on the side of the road. The question is, I think if the songs, it's called, he's using the power of rock, and then this is something that's like, it's like the more powerful than SEO. This is why the girls are screaming at the front row. Like, this is like, I've had friends who would say they use the power of rock to make this or that happen, where they've been at shows where they work them and it's a major artist, like someone like Aerosmith or The Cult or Kiss or something like that. And with the power of rock, a lot of good things happen. Things like people get pick money or pick weed or something because they just take the picks to the front and all the kids like want it, so they trade stuff. And like the roadies can do things like that. Luckily there's more of a Me Too world these days, because I'm sure there's a lot of bad things that used to happen in that sort of gatekeeper world, which as an artist you got to keep an eye on your team to make sure they're not doing those things, especially now. Luckily I have a small team of just me and hopefully the drummer, and I can tour. So you play music, Chris. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what kind of musical background in life you have and what kind of instruments you enjoy to play and why.
So I started taking various instruments way back in school. I was a school band nerd. My very first instrument was clarinet. I got beat up in 8th grade by a high school kid who just started smashing me into a snowbank. I've always been huge, by the way. So this kid was even bigger. And I got beat up. And as he's like midway through his fighting, because he got me from behind, I said, "Hey, what are you hitting me for anyway?" Like, he's like in the middle of hitting me. And he says, "'Cause you play clarinet." And so he's still punching me. And I said, wait. And I go, "Is saxophone okay?" And he like tilts his head and he goes, "Yeah." And then he keeps beating me. And like, that was the end of the fight. So I went home, told my parents, "I need saxophone." And they were like, okay. They paid me to stop playing violin in 3rd grade. I sort of redeemed myself with just a little bit of cello. I played piano a little bit, which was fun. I was never especially good at it. I had this one really big problem with all of my musical abilities. I'm really good at playing by ear, and I'm really not a reader. I can't read music to save my life. I have a pretty decent rhythm. So then I got into rock bands in high school, and starting with being a really bad Van Halen and then really bad Megadeth and Metallica cover band. So I played a real lot of garage band music really poorly, just enough to get some dates and to wreck a big whistle in my left ear. Gave it up for Lent. I have a few guitars around the house at all times. I have a Martin and an Ibanez, and I have a acoustic bass that I like to play for whatever reason. I'm not a great bass player, but I figure who is really?
My neighbor's pretty good, but that's some good taste you've got there with the Martin. My dad had a 1961 D28 that he got from Denny Doherty of the Mamas and Papas. There's my dad right there playing his violin.
Pop.
Yeah, you can't see it so well, but you know what? There he is. And the girl behind him was like a famous lady named Carol Brown, I think. Carol, she was from the lottery commercials in Canada, the Lotterio commercials.
Wow.
And that was
those are some rocking hats too. I mean, I feel like they could also have horses not that far away.
You know what's really cool? I'm going to show you something else. This is Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry, blues greats from the 30s. If you ever want to hear some really cool blues, Brownie McGee, he was on Michael J. Fox's show Family Ties as a old blues guy one time. And
Oh, wow.
I don't know like how he got that gig, but he's in Oakland and he was a friend of my dad's, and I learned some blues stuff from them. So I had a pretty interesting childhood with my dad, having people like that come into our kitchen. He was a dentist in Yorkville, Toronto, and he did Joni Mitchell's teeth once for free because she was broke. This was like the 60s.
So you had to help her
70s.
out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I have a crazy story that relates to my professional speaking career in this. One time on stage, I have this thing about like, I'll give the speech, but I'm also going to tell random things that are in my head just because I have to.
Yeah, you're a ham.
I got on stage and I said just to this crowd, I said, apropos of nothing, by the way, I said, I had the weirdest dream last night. I said, you guys remember that band, the Fabulous Thunderbirds? And like a few people nodded their head. They had that song Tough Enough back in like the very late 80s.
It's like a one hit wonder.
Yeah, pretty much, which it turns out, I'm going ahead on the story a little bit, but it turns out they had lots of hits, just not to the mainstream. So I said, man, I had a dream that I was like jamming with the Fabulous Thunderbirds. And I never had a positive thought in my head about them per se before, but I came out of the dream thinking, those guys are really nice. What great people. So this guy was in the audience at that speech, and he's best friends with like the lead singer and harmonica guy.
And making game.
He comes up to me afterwards. He goes, that was really cool. I'm really good friends with that guy. He goes, do you mind if I tell that story? I said, I told it to a whole room, but you can have it. It's yours for free. He tells the guy, then he says, hey, I know you're in Massachusetts. Can you get to Lowell in like whatever, 18 days from when I was sitting there? I go, sure. He goes, because the Fabulous Thunderbirds are playing and you are welcome to come backstage and hang out with them. And I said, what?
Whoa.
And I have two thoughts in my head. One is like, I don't know their music very well, so I better start listening because I'm going to seem like a stupid idiot. This is just because I had a dream. I don't like them, or, I don't not like them, but I don't.
Well, you did mention it in a keynote.
Yeah. So
now you're invested now.
It turns out he's like known as the lead singer guy. He's like known as one of the best harmonica players, blues harmonica players in the world. Like he's considered like one of the top 5 or something like this. And so we go to the show. I get a very upfront, very by the way, backstage where we were, like we're on the stage with the Fabulous Thunderbirds. So imagine a band and this idiot with like long hair that looks like this, just sort of standing there like.
Oh, I've imagined it. I mean, I have friends who manage bands, and we were recently at the Anaheim House of Blues with all the Puddle Mud and their whole tour. And we're all standing on stage at the back, just taking pictures and being dumb. It happens.
Yeah. And you look like a weird spaceman to everybody who's actually watching the band, because they're looking like, what's that guy? And I feel like, give me a triangle or something. I better try to fit in. But it was great.
My story, they didn't play the solo to Another Brick in the Wall, one of the bands. I think it was Saliva or Chasing Abel or one of the I don't know the band's names anymore. And I was like, give me a guitar. They're not playing the solo to Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, but they're playing the song. Wow. I'm standing there next to them at House of Blues, and I'm a guitar player going, I know that solo. I'm like, amateur old bands that are washed up, I will say. Anyhow.
Have you had that dream a lot where you're at some show and like, I don't know, Eddie can't be there, so you could do the Van Halen, Eruption solo or whatever? Like, you ever have that dream where you just wish someone's going to come up to you and go, do you know all the words to this song? And you do. Usually
it's more of those type of dreams are generally anxiety dreams where there's something not working, like there's something missing. And I opened a show once for 5,000 people. And as soon as we started playing, the bass amp went out, and my singer is like, this is when a previous band, he's like, quick, go to an acoustic version of this song. And I'm like, this is our moment. And we're playing an acoustic version of our most boring song while he fixes the bass amp. And when I was in high school, we played Metallica 1, and then during the solo, my guitar unplugged, and I immediately plugged it back in and got back in like a champ, but it unplugged. And that was like, people remembered that over anything else we did for years. Exactly. Oh, and I'm just like, so I kind of got sort of like stung by that. And I'm a perfectionist. The reason I haven't toured much or even done a lot with my career, because I've been trying to build a life, has been that the technology wasn't there. But now it's here. Like, I can play guitar live on the internet while riding on a hoverboard, and it's streaming, and I'm using Ableton, and there's no one here, and it's all the backtracks are there, and it's in my ears, and it's wireless.
That's awesome. I
But
think there's so many great opportunities now, like you say, to do that. I mean, look at all these people that have like full on YouTube careers just because, like what's his name, Mark Veltri or whatever, the piano guy. He's so good, and you can just watch him like randomizing with people on Omegle. And I think amazing that you can make your life doing that if you want.
it's so cool. And like the number one career that kids want is to be a YouTuber,
I saw
right?
that.
I mean, I've heard that from numerous sources. And if you ask kids, what do you want to be? They all want to be like a YouTuber or a dirt biker or whatever. I was working on being a professional skateboarder. I broke my arm on Labor Day skateboarding again.
Ooh.
I then of course on December 20th I re-broke it snowboarding. Can you believe that? The one day that the hills were open here. I had
Wow.
come back from being quarantined the first time, and I had a wrist guard on both times, and I'm generally pretty good. I just fell out a short kind of spine thing where it went from 7 foot to 3 foot, so I had nowhere to go, and it broke. And then the snowboarding thing, apparently it wasn't healed enough, even though it was totally healed. My body weight couldn't be taken, so now I'm afraid to like walk anywhere. I'm all like, so I'm doing these stretches, and I'm not skateboarding for an entire year just so I can make
Wow.
sure that I don't screw up my music career. So that's my life. I'm doing gaming instead.
There you go. What are you playing for games mostly right now?
Well, I got to 1,000 wins in Hearthstone as a mage really quick. Since October, since I started playing. I had a friend who's playing it, and I feel like I'm really good at that. I want to do tournaments. I can do Super Mario 2 without dying as a warm up in about 20 minutes, 22 minutes. I love that game.
Nice.
Warping. And then I got a PS4 recently. I've been catching up with old friends in the city who I haven't seen in years, like online, and we were playing Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, and I just got an Xbox One, and I haven't gotten into it yet, but we're gonna hopefully be able to catch up with some of my friends on Counter-Strike or whatever the hell they're playing.
Sure. A little bit of a Call of Duty or something, Warzone.
Call of Duty, yeah, that's everyone else is playing.
Yeah.
Are you a gamer?
I am. I mean, I started way back in the 80s, and I was there for when arcades were super popular, and you could go and like put your quarter down and hope to play Ms. Pac-Man or something.
Keep talking.
So I started there, and then console games came about, and I was like a big Xbox guy when that first ever came out with Halo. So I played a lot of those. I play a lot of shooters. It's very, it's maybe maybe this is funny to say or ironic, but I feel very calm playing shooters. Shooters to me are like playing golf or something, because you need pretty good aim. Like, if you're gonna shoot somebody that's trying to run away from you, you have to have pretty good aim. So I feel very zen.
I think we're from the similar generation where like 1942, I used to play that in the arcade, and I will only play the arcade version on my Nintendo, my little NES Classic I have that's hacked. I don't play the Nintendo version of 1942. I only play the arcade version. And Ghosts and Goblins, I can beat the arcade version, and that took forever. And that's the kind of thing I like, nerding out on the arcade version of Double Dragon, the arcade version of 1942, all those fun ones. And pinball, my buddy has an Indiana Jones pinball game, so I did a Twitch game on it, and I got like a high score on it. It's kind of fun.
That's great.
Love it.
That's grand.
Let's see here. Anything you want to ask me?
I want to ask you, what'd you have for lunch today?
Well, I didn't eat yet for lunch because
my gosh, are you fasting?
No, I just got up a bit later, and I what I'm doing is I took a pill that helps settle my stomach a bit and chill, and then I eat after that. And all I did was have breakfast. I just had a cereal with the Tim Hortons disgusting sugar cereal, but I put the reason I have that because I put a bunch of fiber on top of it. That's like the most healthiest stuff with the worst stuff. That's what I ate.
I thought all of Canada rejected Tim Hortons once whoever bought them, like Wendy's or whatever.
They all go to Tim Hortons. I can see it from my backyard. They're all lined up all day long. I don't really go there anymore. I just had that cereal as a one-time joke, but that's what I had today.
Gotcha.
Are you a foodie?
No, I'm a food eater. But I've had some incredible experiences, and every time it happens to me, like I did this event once with Oracle Corporation, and what they did was they mixed a couple of marketing idiots like me with a whole bunch of people from like Top Chef various seasons, and so I had this three city tour of top chefs plus marketing stupid idiots. And so I got to meet lots of really great, super smart, amazing chefs making incredible food. But I'm the kind of guy whose version of incredible is like, I'll get a double quarter pounder. You know what I mean? So it was such a waste on me, but it was so delicious. You know, they do that like gastronomic stuff, or, you know, there's a little smoosh of cream and you're like, what's that? And they're like, that's the burger. I'm like, that looks like cream. And they're like, you know, that's the burger.
That's funny.
So I find myself in foodie circumstances a lot, but I'm just I'm a big moose. So
I can't cook. I'm not a family of cookers, but I had a girlfriend that was a chef once. So like it was so bizarre. Like I knew that everything would be done right, but I also knew it always had to be done right. But that's cool.
Yeah,
kind of funny.
it really is.
What else?
That whole world is like a different world though. Cooks and chefs and all that. That's a very it's like carnival people or something. They're not normal. So if you read, like, for instance, some of the great books that Anthony Bourdain wrote, rest in peace, and look at some of his series, he talks about that a lot. That culture it's sort of like a rock star culture, rock band culture, because there's a, you know, there are people that are somewhat misfitty, the behind people, not the servers, but like the actual line cooks and prep cooks and all that sort of thing. It's a crowd of people who work in a very different way, kind of like, you know, the SEO people you hang with. You know, there's people that you could talk very specific stuff with that everyone else would just wander out of the room instantly the minute they heard you start to talk about it.
I'm trying to go to PubCon. I think it's August 5th in Florida. I'm going to try.
I'll be there. Come on and hang out.
We'll have to Epic Dinner. Are you on Epic Dinner? Are you about that?
I don't know a thing about it. So yes.
Okay, we need to talk. Okay. Other stuff. Question. Yesterday, I was interviewing Rachel Mullins for my podcast, and she's a Hollywood Insider actress and podcaster as well. And we were talking about show running and how hard it is to be a showrunner. And I noticed that you've listed yourself as the showrunner for the Backpack Show. So I just wanted to ask, what the heck does that entail, and how do you like it, and what does that mean? Could you tell me a bit about showrunning, because we were just talking about it?
I picked, so I've since 2006, I've had a process that I use called My 3 Words. And that's how I sort of set my year up. And I think of 3 different words for the year. And I use those words to kind of triangulate, what actions am I going to take? What choices am I going to make? How am I going to operate every given day? And so one of the words I picked for 2021 was showrunner. And the idea is that, you know, there's people who can make a product, like a podcast. Someone says, I'm going to start a podcast, and they don't think much about it. They just go, okay, what kind of gear do I need? How long should it be? How can I get some guests? And then they go run, right? So I've done that. I mean, I started podcasting in 2005 with a show called Fat Guy Gets Fit. All I have figured out is if I just never get fit, I could have that show forever if I wanted.
That's great. That's great. I love that.
Thank you.
Have you thought of doing comedy? Because it sounds like it.
I have thought of doing comedy. It hasn't really, it hasn't caught up to me yet, but one of these days I'll be funny.
I think it shows in your keynotes. And I wanted to say that because it's like, I've done stand-up once just to prove I could do it, but I have lead singer's disease where we think that everything we do is great. So it doesn't matter what the crowd thinks.
Yes. I've heard of that disease. I always thought it was called crabs, but so with the show running thing, the thing I ended up doing, like the distance between a showrunner and any other kind of business person, like think about this in other types of business. If I ran even like an oil change place, a showrunner would say, what aspects of this experience would my customer, the person getting an oil change, come in contact with that would make them feel really good about the experience?
Isn't that the marketing director?
It's very much like, or in Disney, that's what every single Disney cast member, Imagineer. So in that way, so when I do the show, so my co-host Carrie, who's also a co-star, I guess, she books a good large percentage of the guests. She likes and finds the guests and all that. She likes to come up with people. Every now and again, I'll find somebody I really want to interview. But from the minute we do that, we have to think about, how is this going to work? How am I going to ask the questions that make the guests look the best they can look? How am I going to serve the people who give me the time and the attention to be there? What can I do to make this flow? How can I keep it seeming like it's a really tight run experience and all that? And so almost like when you go to a band performance, like for instance, there's such a distance between, like, let's say Iron Maiden and Tenacious D. they're both really fun experiences, but Tenacious D is looser. They joke around. They change up their set mid-set. Jack will go on kind of a rant and have fun with something. Iron Maiden, it is,
Well, it's like
even
Steel
the
Panther,
pauses are cute.
like Steel Panther or the Bare Naked Ladies. They're comedians.
There you go.
So with we were saying with Tenacious D, but I think maybe another example might be like Beyonce versus Iron Maiden too, where it's just like a whole different thing.
Completely. And so the idea of show running is I want everything to kind of happen for a reason. I want everything to feel a certain way. When you were mentioning about Scott Stratton, Scott is a very kind of big level performer. The way he performs, the way he does his speeches, everything's scripted, everything's prepared, everything's tight. His little fingertips move, and the slide behind him will change exactly as the fingers move. And I'm more like, trip or lose my notes or ask you to hold my notes. And that sort of imperfection, that messiness, that kind of why is he on the stage? That's part of it. Like there's something really exciting to me about looking like I don't exactly belong there, but being able to land it. Land it in such a way that people are like, oh, that was
like a sketchy skateboarder that can pull it off. But I think what you're saying makes me think a little bit more along the lines of like, this is really interesting stuff. Like a comedian, when they want to come up with it's like an artist. Like I write an album and I have 10 songs and I go play live. I've been rehearsing my ass off, and anyone who's signed to a major label deal, they've been rehearsing full time for 3 weeks until someone says they're good to go. So they didn't just show up and they're already good. So you got to know that. So if you're trying to be a comedian, from what I'm understanding as a musician, is that you basically try your jokes out. And like some guys, they would put a check mark up on the ones that worked, and the ones that didn't work, they take them out of they're editing their show as they go, so that at the end of like a season or something, they have like all these jokes that work, and then they can go do a Netflix special or something.
Yes. So there is an incredible documentary by Jerry Seinfeld called Comedian. And he walks through that process a lot. And I think the way they bookend it is he talks about the fact he's been trying to land this particular joke for over 5 years. Has not figured it out yet. And I find that amazing.
I love it.
Jerry's been wandering around. I've heard that he's given the same advice to a lot of people, which is not negative, but he says, why do you keep coming up with new material all the time? Why do you always do that? Like he said it to Amy, why can't I think of her name, but everybody, Amy Schumer. And he said it to a few other people. And he said basically the audacity of you to think that you should be trying your new material all the time. You should be giving everyone your best material, to your point. And so I've seen this in rock and roll too. The Beach Boys, the reason they have not been able to play together for a decade plus is that they don't agree. There's Brian, and I forget who the other guy's name is, but they keep fighting because Brian wants to play all this experimental stuff, and all the rest of the Beach Boys just want to play the hits, because they're saying, who wants to come to our show, Brian? People who want to hear good vibrations. They don't care that you've played it for 60 years and counting. That's all they want. They want that Surfing USA,
it's who
fun,
you are.
fun. That's all they want. They don't want your crazy ass space people music. And so they've never gotten back together because they just can't agree on that. Sort of like the Floyd, Roger and David story. So I think that there's a place for just play the hits. I'm really bad at that. I always am trying new stuff as well. I'm Brian in that conversation. I wish I was the other guys, but I'm not.
Well, I think what you do is then you have like a liquid tension experiment where you make a side project that's something different, that's named in a way that needs to be named, and you play the things you want and give people what's branded as what you've sold them. Some people were in record deals with producers and stuff, and like the stuff they wrote didn't get conveyed properly, and they've been produced to all hell, and the records only sound the way the public wants them if they use that producer. So now the artist has been detrimented and turned into something they aren't. And I've seen it. And I've seen it happen where they aren't an artist and the producer turns them into something, like a lot. People can sing, but they don't necessarily know how to write the part. So then they have someone else write it. And it's amazing how many different pieces of the puzzle there are for most artists. Like any CDs you have, a lot of people didn't write their own music. And that's kind of weird. I'm all about writing your own stuff and being original and being true and real and trying to get that out. And that's what I feel like I did with my last few records, but they don't fall in any category. I guess it's all rock.
Right. And that gets tricky too, right? Because the way the world exists is that you need to sort of fit into some kind of a bucket. And there's very few people who we end up following them no matter which bucket. The one that came right to mind when I said that was Mike Patton, famously in Faith No
Mr.
More,
Bungle.
Mr. Bungle, Fantomas. You know, I met my ex-wife because of a Mr. Bungle comment. We both mentioned we both liked Mr. Bungle, and that's why we met. And so when I finally went to see them, it was a grand experience. But then Mike has, 55 other bands. And so you just kind of have to, with him, you're just like, well, I don't know what I'm going to get today, but I love him. So let's see what happens. But I think there's so few Mike Pattons, and there's just way more like, Foo Fighters, you're always going to get rock, whoever.
Primus
Primus.
Is a good example.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a unicorn, for sure. My buddy who produces Steel Panther and used to play in in this band for a bit, he's actually, I think he produced a new Mr. Bungle record. So, yeah, I know that he was working with them and was there. I haven't talked to him. I'm gonna try to get Jay on the show. We'll see. We'll see about that. But yeah, he did a lot of great work and mixed our first couple of records and went to Hollywood and did a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna try and get him on the show. I won't go off on it too now. But I like this comedy thing is interesting. I think knowing that comedy needs to be developed is the first step into comedy. And then realizing that once you do that, it's probably not really that hard. I think Facebook teaches you wit. If you're always replying to comments over the last 10 years, maybe the last 15 to 10 years, not necessarily more recently, but it was like who could get the first comment in, and YouTube, like, not to be a jerk online, but like if you can get that funny comment first and you get all the likes and it's funny, it's kind of like, yeah, it's comedy, it's teaching you comedy. So I feel like I practice comedy on Facebook. And that's why people are like, why the hell do you comment on this or that? And that's what I'm doing. So
that just really made me think of Eugene Merman, who plays Gene on Bob's Burgers, amongst other things. Eugene Merman made a joke. He goes, some people practice and try out their jokes on Twitter. He goes, I practice my jokes on LinkedIn. And then he goes on to talk about how he's done things like he calls himself the VP of PP at Verizon. And he filled in a whole thing about it. And he goes, what's crazy to me is that no one checks it. He says, no one at LinkedIn goes, no, you're not. And so he goes, suddenly I'm getting asked to be vice presidents of other companies like Verizon. And I thought that was fascinating. I also appreciate the idea that you could try to be a comedian on LinkedIn. I gave a speech at a really super amazing conference that I really wish was still around. It's called Audience. And the guy who put it on was this guy, Lauren Feldman. Half of the show was marketing idiots like me, and half of the show were stand-up comics. And it was done in New York City. The year I was there, it was done on Caroline's stage. So this is a stage that you've seen some of the biggest comedians you've ever heard of in your life have gone to really be discovered. And I'm on that stage as a marketer. However, I'm the only one in the marketing half who thought about, maybe I'll try to tell some jokes.
There you go.
Everyone else said, I'm just going to tell my marketing speeches the way marketers do. And I thought, no way. I watched the YouTubes of all these other comedians. I'm going to try to be funny.
Read the room.
So I made a joke that I still kind of appreciate. I made a joke about when I grew up, there wasn't like all this great internet porn. Like it just didn't exist. I said, all we had was ASCII porn. So you'd have to sit there with your dot matrix printer and like, and you'd like, look at those open and closed parentheses. I'm pretty sure that's a nipple. And then people were laughing their heads off. And I said, this feels good. So you're right. I mean, with developing comedy, you get that real feeling of like,
but once the joke lands, and I haven't seen Comedian by Jerry, but I've seen him a lot. And I actually saw Seinfeld at Pantages recently. And the beginning part of his act is just all about you getting into your seat. It's hilarious. And he talks about cell phones. He's up to date. It's not his old comedy, but I'm sure he worked on it a long time. I don't know where I was going with that.
Me neither, but good for you.
I think
that's like the opposite of really good improv, by the way. Improv, you're supposed to go, yes, and just like keep going with it. And I just like,
I can't, okay, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Stuff like that, like Groundlings, Upright Citizens Brigade. I can't get into the always trying to make it up. stuff. I'd rather just write smart comedy. Like I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan. I don't need to improv, even though all their stuff's improvised and recorded, and then they just use it. Two brothers. Do you watch that show?
It's just called Two Brothers. Get ready to Jan Michael down your Vincents. No, I've never heard of it.
Ooh wee. You know what? When is that coming back? Like now? June?
Pretty soon. And there's a strange side note to this, that Dan Harmon just agreed to make some kind of a comedy show on some kind of blockchain technology. So I have no idea what that really means, but the show's called something like Crap Town, which means that he's going to treat it really poorly or something. But
that should be awesome. I love what they do.
But the new season's coming in just a month or so, and I don't know. I feel like they need to have some kind of very epic ending before they accidentally get uninteresting. I feel like they run the risk any day soon of. I mean, how many seasons can you outdo yourself?
10.
So I'm curious to know what's going to happen.
I don't know, Morty. 10 seasons, Morty. 10 seasons, and I'm going to get the Szechuan sauce.
Exactly.
Oh my Lord. All right. Well, my viewers will get a lot of insight from you, and hopefully I'd love to have you back sometime when you have something going on you want to talk about, or if there's more going on.
Just tell more jokes.
World. I think we could maybe switch it to more comedy. I think next time we'll have to. It'll be more of a, all right, what do you got? Like, what do you got for me that's funny?
You know, I was just thinking, what might be a fun version of that is make a show called Really Bad Comedians Do Their Best at Not, you're really trying to be funny or something. Something where the premise is basically up front that
trying to be funny.
Clear you're not going to land it. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's just going to be awkward joke after awkward joke.
It's a place to try the jokes out that aren't going to land, and that people are going to appreciate that you're doing that. But it could turn into dad joke central.
Yeah. And I love a good dad joke. My ex-wife's favorite dad joke is, where does a king keep his army?
Where does a king?
In his sleevey.
Oh my Lordy.
Yeah. She's Canadian, so you have to appreciate it.
Do you know much music?
I do know much music, and Music Plus.
Oh my Lord. Okay, well, do you know that Ed the Sock is trying to bring it back in some way? They've got an Indiegogo thing. Do you know who he is?
No.
Okay, so he was a guy that, the only reason I'm mentioning him is because recently I saw him live on Facebook doing this thing for musicians, which is great. They have an Indiegogo set up. It's called New Music something. It's to do with, like, they're trying to bring much music back. But he sounds like Rick from Rick and Morty. But if you don't know who he is, you won't understand. But he was kind of like the poo-poo dog, that stupid dog. But he was predecessor to that too. And
interesting.
But if he's talking about Much Music, I don't know. Well, at the Much Music building, down at Speaker's Corner. But if he's talking about, I don't know, Morty, it's the same voice, but it's not the same guy. But he was there before. He was there first. And I just think that's hilarious if you know who Ed the Sock is from Much Music.
Are you going to get all the Much, musicians back together? Like, are we going to get to see some good Rio Statics maybe? Or,
there's a new hip record out tonight at midnight.
Oh my gosh.
It's Sessions from Road Apples.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's like, I don't know. I just heard about it today because Canadian Music Week's on right now. And instead of participating, I'm doing podcasts because I'm sort of over the online music thing. I want to play real music for real people again.
There was that the Tea Party. I was thinking of the Tea Party. Maybe they could show up on the new Much Music. They could sing some version of Temptation, perhaps.
Yep, there's the Tea Party, I Mother Earth, all those guys. Our Lady Peace, the three-lettered bands.
Yeah, there are a lot of those 3-word bands. Who knew?
Sloan.
Oh my gosh, maybe Whale. No, Whale wasn't Canadian.
Whale was good though.
Whale's great.
I like that.
And the Hansoms. The good old hockey game. All the Hanson's punk rock versions of songs.
The Hanson Brothers. I love it. I wanted to ask you, are there any artists before you go that have been resonating with you lately that you want to tell us about or that we should check out?
Very much so. Very, very much so. Thank you for asking this question. It makes me so...
I always want to ask this question.
I like the Mongolian band The Who, H-U, not W-H-O, but The Who. Their song Wolf Totem always makes me jazzed up, and there's a lot of good versions of that going around.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So it is... This is a real story. It is a real deal. They're a Mongolian bunch of like 20-ish heavy metal band, But so the Mongolian people, for instance, have this kind of, it's like a cello, but it's only got 2 strings, and it rocks when you do it. Plus they do that throat singing that you hear sometimes.
I've seen this style of music before. I just haven't heard of this band. I bet you it's awesome.
The Who,
I might have been
H.U.
shown this
Wolf
before.
Totem. Lead singer of Papa Roach did a version of the song with them. That's really kind of cool. The other band I like comes from Japan. They're called Baby Metal.
Oh yeah, I
the
know
song
them.
Gimme Chocolate.
Yep.
They're a sweetheart to a lot of people like Rob Zombie, Rob Halford. All the Robs evidently like them. I like Baby Metal. I listen to them quite a bit. And then Frog Leap Studios on YouTube, Leo. Leo does all these great metal covers of not metal songs. And at this point, I'm in this weird mode where I keep going back and finding some of his best of. So like he does this great version of Hello by Adele that is a banger. Like it feels like an awesome metal song. And you don't think Adele while you're listening to it. You think of that. He does a good Africa song from Toto, but it's a metal song when you listen to it. So
when I hear banger, I think EDM. How's your EDM?
All right, I'm broken.
You're saying a Pantera song, I'm broken.
Oh, yeah.
I'm broken. Sorry, I can't not make a Pantera reference when I got Dimebag's actual pick right here with the X's in it from the stage mic when I was at the show.
You could walk around with that and really impress a lot of people.
I'm not able to impress anyone with that.
I was going to say I'm broken to EDM because I still actually non-ironically like dubstep. So I'm not really good to answer that question because I still like scary monsters and nice sprites and those kinds of things.
That's all right. That's what you, I guess the word would be, resonated with when you got into it.
That would be true.
I mean, I like
how I learned Ableton, by the way.
I'm happy to hear that you learned Ableton. That's what I use live, and it's my favorite thing ever. And when I was living in LA, I had a bunch of friends who took me to this place, Space Yacht. That's what that is. It's just a night, Tuesday nights. Now it's at Club Sound in LA every Tuesday, and it's all EDM night. But it was like I was living with a bunch of DJs, and I was learning the trade of Ableton and other things and trying to figure out the scene. I met so many people there, like Ghastly, Slushy, A-Track, people like that would sometimes be there.
Wow.
Like, in this scene, because it was like all the people at school, the different schools in Los Angeles for music production, and so it's like 25-year-olds mostly. My roommates are all like kind of like 20s and 30s, and I skate a lot, so I hang a lot of skaters. So it's kind of I had a re-education of EDM from Burning Man and from this little crew I was with. We run the skateboard camp at Burning Man. At least I try to help as much as I can. It's been canceled the past 2 years. Have you ever gone?
I have not gone. By the time I got to the awareness of it, it was starting to turn in some people's minds. So some people argue that it's still really great, and some people say, you already missed it.
I went once and I never stopped going. I'm not going to comment any other than it canceled last year, so I couldn't go. It's a great networking experience.
Nice.
I highly recommend it. But I think that's all I have for you today. This has been
all
really
right,
good.
Fine, I'll go.
I would love to do your show sometime if you ever need anyone that has whatever kind of insights I got, from SEO to guitar to podcasting to comedy to acting to space.
Maybe guitar SEO. I mean, that might be an interesting topic area too.
Well, the way to be number one in guitar SEO is to be that annoying guy that shows everyone how to play it and it makes fun of it. But he's so annoying. He's so good. I don't want to be that guy. It's screws the mystery up of being an artist. Now, this is bad enough that I'm having a podcast where I tell everyone my secrets, but I don't want to be like in my stage setup doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, you could be like Rick Beato and just, jam around why you like XYZ song.
Well, I'm happy to grab my guitar almost right now. It's right there and show people stuff. And I'm happy to do like how to play my music, how to play things I've figured out over the years. I might do that on my podcast on the gear episode. But
that's a good idea.
For the overall, I don't want to build a YouTube channel around like complaining.
What? I thought that's why we built YouTube.
No, it's to answer and solve problems for our users. This is what we learn in marketing, right? Every video is to solving a problem for somebody. So that's why the keywords for this podcast are all about how to help musicians now.
Well, if you had a problem, I'd solve it. You just have to check out my hook.
DJ Revolve it. I think
That
we're
was one
writing
of the
lyrics.
best. That was one of the best shows I ever saw. I was watching Where Are They Now? If you remember that on MTV back when they talked about music sometimes, and they were talking about Vanilla Ice, and they said coming up next, what Vanilla Ice has been doing, and it was really heavy. I was like, whoa, what's he been doing?
I remember that.
He got with those guys from Korn, like the people who kind of made the albums, not the band. And I said, I want to make an album like that. And they were like, okay, Vanilla Ice. And so he made a really heavy album. Well, I happened to be reading the Boston Phoenix, which a long, long time ago was this incredibly great independent newspaper where you could catch up on bands that weren't as commercially popular. And I turned to the page during the commercial break, coming up, here's what Vanilla Ice is doing. Turn the page, and there's a full page Vanilla Ice coming to the wherever it was at the Middle East in Boston, which is this like kind of smallish club. Then that day's date on it, like the day I'm watching the show, I was like,
that's so funny.
So I took my then girlfriend. I said, we gotta go. We get in the car. We lived like 35 minutes from Boston. We drive all the way to Boston, find a space, which is horrible. Get to the show, and he's not on stage yet. You know how like you're kind of like all lumbering around waiting for the show to start. Well, they start. The crowd is kind of making fun of him, like they're all like, most of the people there seem to be there because they were like,
they want to see the accident happen.
Yeah,
they're there to see it crash.
And I was there, open-minded. I was there kind of more like, oh, this might be interesting.
It's okay. You like the song. It's all right.
Sure.
It's a Queen song, but it's all right.
The crowd is screaming, go Ninja, go Ninja, go, making fun that he was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh no.
And like, they're
he's gotta own that. He's gotta own that.
So he comes out. So the really bright lights that illuminate the audience, the ones facing the audience, come on super, super bright. You sort of see the band silhouettes coming out. And then you hear him put on like the 80s version of Ice Ice Baby. Just the starting part. Ding, 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 ding. And then he holds his mic out. He goes, all right, stop. And then the whole crowd a cappella sings every word of the song because they know every word of the song, even if they're going there to make fun of him.
That's awesome.
Midway through, the heavy metal band lands, boom, 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 boom. The crowd loses their mind. It is incredibly instantly like a 300-person mosh pit in a 200-person capacity space. And the whole rest of an hour goes by, everyone losing their mind. They're so happy to be in there.
Because people just want to mosh to that song and crunch people to it in the heavy version of it. They're so sick of the other version.
They had such a great time. Everybody left that place going, man, Vanilla Ice has sure got a good show. Like no one could talk smack about him then.
I heard about it from my drummer who's he knew him or somehow knew something to do with it and was saying Vanilla Ice is like got a crazy show going on.
Yeah. So that was years ago, and he's I don't know, he like restores houses or something now. I don't know. He does this weird.
That was like 03.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, around 03, probably just a little bit sooner, even before that maybe, but it was definitely like, I have that feeling that there's a lot of other bands out there that if you ever go to see them, you're going to love them more than you think. So that's how we'll end the show, I guess. We'll end the show by saying, never judge a band by its cover.
I love it. And who they cover. I love it. So tomorrow I've got Steve Thompson on. Speaking of Korn, he produced like a whole bunch of their albums and he mixed Appetite for Destruction. So that'll be pretty cool.
Wow.
He's a friend of mine. I've worked with him before and I just, I love his take on the industry and I can't wait to record him tomorrow. And yesterday is out tomorrow, next Wednesday, and yours will be out the week after. So
that sounded like calendar words, but yes.
Boom. Sorry to confuse it all. Anyway, thank you, Chris Brogan.
Thank you.
ChrisBrogan.com. And that's, I know your company's name is that as well, Chris Brogan Consult. What's the name of it, man?
Chris Brogan Media, or I also own Owner Media. So either one.
Well, very pleased to have you on. Thank you for your time today. And
thanks,
this is the Musicians Insider, and I'm Cronus, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks.
Now throughout the rest of the weekend, over 30 bands are being featured on 2 separate stages, 5 of which happen to be local musicians being given a major chance.
First of all, we're sharing the stage with bands like Matthew Good and Big Wreck. It's just amazing. We're selling lots of CDs now. We're learning the business. It's really, really good for us.
Now, this is your first show back since the passing of Jason. How is that going to be for you tonight?
It's just going to be a little more laid back, very cool for this club. So I'm excited, and we've got to get out there and play again.
Ready to rock over here now. We have got a group of guys that originate from Ottawa, and they have definitely captured the attention of fans and music industry execs alike. They have shared the main stage with the likes of the Tea Party, Matthew Good Band, Big Reg, Edwin, and Wide Mouth Mason, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, here to perform Heavy High, we have Thermocline.
If I don't remember you, then you will remember me.
We first started off about 4 years ago. It was myself and Jason and Graham and Andrew, and we recorded a 3-song demo. It was really cool. We were very, very excited about how it sounded. Jay Rustin, who's now our bass player, he produced it, and it was our first time in a real big studio as Thermocline. It was an interesting time to learn how to record for real and get stuff that sounds radio like quality. It was really, really, really interesting.
and you. But between me and you, well, yes I do. Well, I do, yeah. And I can't sleep when I smile. Yeah, it seems to me that we don't know why. What the hell we're doing right? What the hell we're doing? And I got so right. And I get so well, I'm not complaining, I'm just sitting. Well, I just sit back. I let life flow me by, yeah. And I can't sleep when I smile. Yeah, it seems to me that we don't know why. What the hell we're doing right? What the hell we're doing? And I got so right. And I get so right. No, I can't sleep when I smile. No, I can't sleep when I smile. This is how I die. Wanna see such beautiful things when I reach out and I pull them in. Well, I see such beautiful things when I reach out and I pull them in. Well, I see such beautiful things when I reach out and I pull them in. Well, I see such beautiful things when I reach out, keep reaching out. And I got so right. And I get so
Hey everyone, welcome to the Musicians Insider. I'm your host Cronus, and today we're going to have, for the very first episode, our inaugural episode, we're going to have Robert Scobelizer, who's really been one of the firsts in a lot of places. He was the first in a Tesla, the first guy to use Google Glass in the shower and make no one else want to use it. A lot of firsts. So without further ado, we'll bring him on shortly here. I'd like to introduce Robert Scoble.
Yeah.
This is my first one. You're the first one.
Wow. That's awesome.
So Hey, everyone.
Somebody had to be first.
So, hey, everyone. Welcome to my first inaugural podcast for the Musicians Insider. I'm Cronus, and our first guest is none other than Robert Scobelizer. He is always first. So I thought it'd be interesting to say some of the things you've been first at. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, because I haven't really
working as a journalist or futurist in the tech industry for a long time, building online communities and stuff like that. I was the first one to see the first Tesla. I was the first one to see Flipboard. I was the 79th user of Instagram. Siri was launched in my son's bedroom. So then that's just some of the weird shit that's happened in my life. So.
I noticed you left out the Google Glass.
Oh yeah, I wore that for a year. That was always fun. That'll come back someday.
I really enjoy just when I speak to you and talk to you about things, just because you are a futurist, and I don't know many people who are, and like, you're the one guy I kind of like when I go to you, you're on the cutting edge all the time, making sure stuff is going to be great for your life. So my entire podcast is dedicated to music. It's the Musicians Insider. I can't even say it, the Musicians Insider. But a lot of things you do are music related. I think even without even realizing it, but I think, as you know, you've got the best music headphones on your head right now, right?
Yeah.
See what I'm wearing?
Oh. Overpriced Apple headphones. No, they're actually really good. Yeah, that's cool.
These are in-ear monitors from 64 Audio. They're one of my sponsors, actually. So for my music project. Awesome. So I get these in-ears that are just beautiful, and they have 12 drivers in them, so I can hear everything very clearly. And it's just, I can't believe the way technology's gone. One of the things that I've found is in my life, the technology has now got to where I can actually do all the music stuff I've been sort of afraid to do. I think one of my problems was being a perfectionist. I always wanted it to be right. So then by the time I got it right, it's like I'm 45. So that's the way it is. I'm 55. I still haven't got it right. We first met at the Twitter 140 conference, actually, I think. Have you seen what Jeff Pulver's been up to lately? Do you know Jeff?
I haven't. I do know him.
He's got some cool stuff in New York right now. He's got Pulver EDU. I would check it out, you know, and I was going to teach a course for them, and then I got a job and had to stop and bail on them. But I'm up in Canada now. So I ran into you again at South by Southwest after I won Jeremy Shoemaker's contest. It was like 69 reasons to send me to South by Southwest on Jeremy and Isaiah's dime. The Isaiah guys, I remember when I met you first, they were kind of weird. Like they had their opinions, and I don't know, like it was interesting to like hear one of them talk shit about you. And then I was like, wait a minute. And I met you. I was like, no, this guy's cool. And I was like, I'd rather be your friend than his. And so I was like,
well, thank you.
But at the time I was just like, whatever, you know, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt to you. So
I might have barfed on his shoes. So
I think that's funny. Yeah. I think that's funny. Isaiah, I don't know that really if they've ever gotten to anywhere bigger than they did. No. So music's always in a way part of something that we're doing. On Jeff Pulver's last little show, they had the music director of SNL on it on a Zoom. So they've always got some cool people in there to listen to, and I'm just networking as much as I can. With you, I know we were talking a lot about just awesome video game stuff. I appreciate your invite to come and try out some of the immersive VR stuff. I haven't been in the area in a long time, and now that Burning Man's been canceled 2 years in a row, I'm not even anywhere near you. But I've been playing Hearthstone, and I have 999 wins. I'm about to have 1,000 wins. I'm going to go live on my stream tonight, and I'll have it's like have you ever played Magic the Gathering? It's like that.
No. Okay.
It's a very direct damage type game with cards, but you know how you play Monopoly? It's like someone has to be the banker, and it's annoying. With Magic the Gathering cards we used to play in college, it was annoying to do the math with a pencil. And now if you have an iPad with Monopoly on it, it's all the math is done. So it's like that. It's kind of nice.
I have a Monopoly game that you talk to the banker is electronic. So
see, again, you've got the next level of it. I love that. And why hasn't that come out sooner? Imagine you sit there, you have like the game Trouble or whatever. You press a button.
Because the computer has to be really cheap in a board game. So they had to wait for the price of that thing to come way down.
you think it might be like a like a Bluetooth board game that connects to your phone now, right? That just changes games every time. I bet you that's coming out soon.
There's a company called Tilt 5 that's coming out with a board for your coffee table or your kitchen table, and you put on some glasses, and then you get as many games as they're going to deliver.
So there it comes.
So,
yeah. I was listening to some of your Twitter chats lately, just a little bit. I heard you guys yesterday and a couple weeks ago I was on, and I noticed there's some cool stuff. One of the guys had a VR link to all the like virtual VR worlds you could go to. I thought that was really cool. I love that you have people on all the time. Robert's always got some interesting people on talking about the latest technologies, and there's always someone who's worked somewhere crazy. And then I heard you talking about
we had a natural language processing guy, an AI expert who's been doing it for 20 years. Yeah.
The next word I have is AI on my screen here. I wanted to ask you, how afraid of it are you? And you know it's inevitable, yet the way it has to go, the real test, I think, will be...
I'm not afraid of it. I have the Facebook portal behind me, and I have a Tesla in the garage, and I have a June oven with a camera that you put bread into the oven, and it goes, oh, there's toast in the oven, I'll toast it. Yeah.
You're the real first privacy is gone advocate, and I totally get that. You need the removal of privacy to do specific tasks, like have a droid talk to you without giving it approval first, right? It's got to be allowed to. So, but the real test I was going to say was, can AI write a joke that makes us laugh? You know, I think when they can start doing things like that, we're going to start to get into the real business of where we are with what AI can do. I think an important thing that people don't talk about, and I find it's very interesting, if you've seen The Mandalorian, how IG-11 it's a robot. Basically, if you watch that, they trained the robot from beginning. They reprogrammed it. And my point is, a robot or any type of AI, it must rapidly, eventually, but it must be learning and development similar to a human. You know, like our brain doesn't start like this when we're born. You know, a 30-year-old human is much more developed than a baby. So, you know, the hand of the robot, the first thing it has to do is it goes, okay, this is my hand. It has to get excited. Then it has to go, this is an object. And then when it grabs the object, it gets excited. So that whole neural network learning stuff is what they have to do to make it work. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's it. That's the key. I thought I'd ask you your thought on that.
Step by step. Autonomous cars work like that, right? My car sees stop signs and stoplights and lane markings and other things around pedestrians, bicyclists. And it's all doing that through AI. And, you know, if you look at where the world is going, it's going there pretty quickly in terms of human history, right?
What do you think's coming next?
Oh, geez. That's a big question. Apple. We're all waiting for Apple to come out with its new Apple, the new 3D Apple. And they're doing a lot of things in the home to own it. So when it comes, it's going to be big, but probably next year.
I know since I've met you, you've been waiting for the clear iPhone to come out. That never happened. Like these things that were coming and coming. So if you're saying next year, I'm going to guess it's 2 years away.
No, the leaks and the patents are raining out of the sky. So it's coming soon. Yeah.
So about VR and holograms, I find that VR makes users feel kind of sick, right? Like I've had a few times where I tried it. I'm like, kind of get whatever. Obviously,
my wife does too.
The mixed reality is much better. I was reading an article about something here. It was on, I forget what it was, but a person named Liang Shi believes that the new approach, which the team that they're on calls tensor holography, will finally bring that elusive 10-year goal within reach to have holograms like VR and 3D printing worlds like together. Like, I don't understand that. Have you heard of that, tensor holography?
No, I haven't, but there's a whole bunch of work being done on displays to bring different kinds of holograms, either to glasses or windshields in cars, right?
Will we have the Princess Leia hologram? Will we have the R2D2 projecting?
As long as you put on glasses, yes. There's screens that can do some of that, but only in localized places. The screen, once you put on glasses, it's over. So, you know, in the next few years, you're going to see some really crazy new technologies come along.
I'm excited. I heard you guys talking a little bit about music AI for $20 a month. And then you were talking about, somehow there was a Canadian joke where they said something about you put the A into K, and I was like, okay, enough of that. But I did want to ask you, about that. What do you think about the future of music? And, aside from nepotism and things like that, where is it going?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. One, start out with this new over-the-ear headphone, Apple headphone, right? And this has 2 AI computers in it. That's what makes this different than all the other headphones in the market. The noise canceling is the best on the market right now because of that. It has 9 little microphones around it. And it has a new thing called spatial audio. So I can hear music or sound coming from all around me. It's a infinite surround sound system, basically. And then you start thinking about what happens if they put an augmented reality computer onto this thing where it can see the world. Well, now you can put music on your living room floor and walk around it like you were walking on stage at the Beatles, and walking in between the band members as they're playing. Really? That's going to radically change music. And then we're going to get all the visuals, right? So we're going to be able to be in a rave in your living room, or a Coachella music festival in your living room, right? So, and that's coming next year as well.
I would love to hear. I'd love to hear your thought on what an artist can do to get ahead of the curve, because most artists don't even have like a website.
Yeah, this is ahead of the curve. If you're not playing with VR and understanding what metaverses are, you probably are already way behind. You need to catch up. If you don't have a VR headset like an Oculus Quest, it's $300. Get one.
Which one should people get?
Oculus Quest 2.0. It's
Quest 2.
$300. It's $300. It's down there.
And it works on its own now, right? It's self-contained.
Yeah, it's a standalone. You don't need any computer. You just need to buy an Oculus Quest for $300. The reason I want you to do that is it starts showing you what presence and what immersion means, and you start learning how other developers are building virtual worlds for you to enjoy. You are going to start getting a language around this. You're going to start understanding what people mean when they talk about immersion and presence, right? So that you can have some real conversations with your tech teams about the future of your brand and the future of where you're going to go with this stuff, right? Because if you're Marshmello, for instance, he played at Coachella. I saw him 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. And in Coachella, in the Sahara tent, only 10 to 20,000 people can fit in that one venue. Well, he played on Fortnite, and he gets 11 million people watching. So if that didn't get your attention,
that was insane.
As a musician, then you're not going to get anything, because you're not really in the audience business, right? And music is about building audiences, right?
Yeah, and like even with crypto coins currency, you can make a coin for your band that's like only people can buy stuff from that, and it kind of makes sense to do that as an artist. It doesn't make sense to do it as a company unless you're like Nintendo and you're selling these coins, or someone like who does that. They haven't even done it yet. But
don't go there, because in 10 years everything's going to work like NFTs. So, a lot of things are going to be on my walls. Virtual things are going to be on my walls all over my house, right? Hopefully I can afford some nice ones, but
do you care about unique? Do you care about unique NFTs?
If you want to own an Ansel Adams photo, it costs money.
Do you care about it being unique?
I don't care, but other people do. I pay attention to what other people care about, and other people care about having things in their homes that they care about, right? That's unique. If you're a rich guy, you have a Picasso on the wall, right?
Well, can people just make a fake NFT and pretend it's the real one? Like, will people do that then?
They can, but I come along with my glasses and go, no, that's not a real NFT. I already looked up the NFT, and it's not a real NFT. You're trying to fake me out, man. So stop lying that you own a Picasso on the wall.
So right now, NFTs is it's a really big moneymaker. For anyone,
you should start watching an artist called Tutu.
Okay.
He works for Dylan Francis. He's been doing all sorts of art for Dylan Francis, and he's building all sorts of metaverse-based art for the music industry, and he's doing badass shit. So
very cool.
He's working with a company called The Wave, which is doing this kind of virtual thing. Right now, it's still on flat screens, but someday that was started as a VR company, switched to 2D screens because that's where everybody is today, and they'll switch back when the glasses come out next year, the headsets from Apple and Facebook.
There's a pretty cool dome in LA called the Wisdome or something, and they do like virtual, like bands are performing, but there's like mapping going on all around them, and it's really, really neat. If you have a chance to check it out, I think Pink Floyd was doing something with them, and there's a lot of other musicians in LA involved.
Domes are cool, but soon you're going to have that in your living room. Why would you want to go to a dome? Get rid of this idea you're going to go and do things. Yes, we're all going to do things, but we're going to have that dome in our living room soon.
Well, this was for the band is performing though, and you can go see them. Like you're there.
I get that, but that only 10,000 people can do that. I'm talking about millions of people, man. Let's get into the new world.
This was less. This is less than thousands. This is like hundreds.
I know, because it's hard to get a ticket to a dome, a physical dome. You're going to have a virtual dome on the Apple headset coming next year. So why would you think like a physical thing now? You got to start thinking, I'm going to have a new audience showing up next year, with headsets, with Oculus Quest and stuff like that. We're going to be able to reach a new audience in a new way.
Where do I want to be performing? At home to the world, or do I need where do you see that?
Do you want to get in another airport? I mean,
that's a good question.
Musicians are still going to have to travel, okay? Because humans still like to see music, and analog music, real world music, is still better than digital music. But most people can't experience this stuff, right?
After last year, I just want to play in front of real people.
I know. But the trick is to now start capturing that with a bunch of 3D sensors so that you can put that up into virtual reality or augmented reality, and you can make your audience that's maybe a few thousand people in front of you. Now it's 1 million people.
So when you have a show, you map it all out virtually so people can walk through the stage while it's playing with cameras and sensors.
Eventually. Today, it's really hard to do that. It costs millions of dollars to do that. But soon, i.e. next year, there's going to be stadiums that have 100 cameras in them that does volumetric, right? And there's going to be a lot of companies and a lot of pressure on the music industry to do this, because I'm going to be watching music in my living room. I'm not coming to Coachella no more. So if you want to get me as a consumer, you got to think about this new world that's coming.
Love it. And this is great.
We're in metaverses and virtual reality. That's where the new market is. That's how you get the people to come and see you.
Did you see the virtual Burning Man? Did you see it?
I did. I not just saw it. I partied there, and some of the people who were putting it on gave me a tour. It was awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who did a lot of really amazing stuff that I've been watching what they're doing for next year, and they're actually using some of that technology just to show what their new art cars and plans are looking like. I kind of took a year off of that just because I was like, I'm like out of it this year, but removing back to Canada. But man, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming up with the technology. Like I've been using Ableton Live with a pretty elaborate setup that I can now stream from using Zoom, that we've all these plugins attached to it. I hired one of the best guys to help me build it. And it's just, I would never have dreamed that I could be where I am, where I can actually do it all from a laptop. Playing guitar. I have a drummer, a live drummer, but everything else is on Ableton, and it works. It sounds like the record.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Technology is really changing music, isn't it?
Well, that's kind of why I like talking, to keep the pulse on things with you a little bit, because you're not there as a musician. You're as a consumer, as a creator, as a father,
I'm in the front row cheering, man.
but you're very vocal about how it should happen. And it's good to hear someone who has the experience of watching other product launches fail and just watching technology emerge over the last 20 years. Like I have an Atari 400 over there. Why? Because I want one there. Does anyone understand that? No. But it's been neat.
Reminds you of your childhood, right?
And that's what's up with like Star Wars and stuff. Like no one cares about stuff that didn't happen to them when they were young, but we do. So it's super interesting.
My kids are on Discord with his friends back there.
Yep.
And Minecraft and Roblox and Gmod, all these different kinds of games that you can play with your friends, you know.
I actually just got a PS4 and started playing Grand Theft Auto with my homies I haven't seen in years, and it's been super fun. And you can do things together. It's just a collaborativeness. It doesn't even matter what you're playing.
Yeah.
It's just nice to. But when people are on like, oh, I have Microsoft or I have this, you can't hang out with them because they're not on the same thing. It's kind of frustrating.
That is very frustrating, and that'll be actually an interesting question. Will the Apple ones talk with the Facebook ones, with the Snap ones, with the the Google ones? Right?
But none of the ones you're mentioning include the PlayStation Network or the anything Nintendo related or anything. None of the consoles. And where is that market? Like, where are the Microsoft Xbox people and the PS4 people going to be?
Dying until they come out with glasses. I mean, Sony has a VR headset coming out next year, right? It's still corded. It's still not. It's not going to be what Apple's coming. Apple's about to come out with something that's really mind blowing, and so, you know, the consoles are the past. Yeah, this is the new world of having kids on Zoom calls. It's sort of fun.
I think it's cool. Everybody's fam.
But I can chase them around too. See, this is what I have, a DJI gimbal. I'll show it to you in the mirror.
I know what that is.
So
I used to have one of those. Yeah, you hold it. Yeah,
and you can move it around, and the camera stays pretty steady there. So I
used to use that with the Swagtron folks when I worked at Swagtron. Used a hoverboard company, electric skateboards, electric hoverboards, and things like that. And I would use the gimbal.
Yeah, and so I get to. What do you want, Elon? Whatever.
That's fun.
He's gonna steal strawberry.
Ever since I got the iPhone XR, the steady cam on, even the iPhone 7 with the stabilization, it's been so much better video.
This is a 12 Pro Max on here, and it's way better than any of those. But you still need, if you want to have this kind of smoothness of a steady cam, you have to have a gimbal. You know?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I have used it
steady. I have used one.
Really
My buddy
cool.
has one. They're
great.
Really
cool because I could take you around and take you out to the Tesla and stuff like that. So
you should take me out to the Tesla. I've never seen it. Which one are you driving?
The Model 3.
And is that your favorite one, or do you have a favorite, or do you have a plan?
If I was a billionaire, I'd have Model X or something. But yeah, I'm not that rich.
I took a ride in a Model X. It was at Uber in Toronto, and I asked the guy, I go, "What are you doing with this?" And he's like, I just use it to drive people across the town, and it pays my car payments. I'll
go in the Tesla here.
This is awesome. This is what I see. This is why I love you.
The nice thing about doing podcasting in the Tesla is it's a soundproof booth. I can get in here and yell, right?
Wow. So it's like it's basically an audio isolation booth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So tell me about this car.
I'll just switch you back. The thing about Tesla, well, first of all, it's electric, right? And then everybody's like, we're all coming out with electric truck or car. You know, Ford says, we're coming next year, and VW says we're coming with 30 cars in the next 4 years. So there's a bunch of batteries underneath me, right? And it's great from that aspect. It's fast, right? You've seen the videos. What I'm really keyed on is the experience of owning a product, and the AI in this car and the software is way ahead of like our Toyota or our friends' other cars. And the self-driving is going to run away with the game. They have more data than anybody else does to go from not working very well to it's fully it's mind-blowing. Right.
And when they license it to VW, then VW gets all that data too? How does that work?
No, they're not going to license. They're not going to license what's in the Tesla to a VW. That just ain't going to work.
Well, who's VW licensing it from? Aren't they getting like that?
VW is building their own. VW is building their own autonomous. There's many companies building their own autonomous technology, but they don't have 1 million cars on the road with cameras that can change lanes and turn corners.
Like so you were saying, every time a Tesla drives by you, it's more data.
Yeah, it's refreshing the street as it goes by. So if it sees, a car wreck, it can report that to the map and say, hey, there's police action here. There's a street closed, there's a lane closed or something like that, right?
Which is helpful to everyone.
Yeah, I'm expecting in 24 months, Apple and Google Maps are going to be very threatened by Tesla because Tesla has the data they don't. They don't have real-time data on the street, and Tesla does. Now, Tesla's not very many places yet, right? They only have 1 million cars on the street. In my neighborhood, Tesla's everywhere, right? There's 5 of them on my street, right? So, right, and I only have a small street here. So there's Teslas everywhere in Silicon Valley. But if you're in, East Africa or Mumbai or something like that, you don't see Teslas at all. You've never even seen a Tesla yet.
We have a few in Northern Ontario. There's a lot in the bigger cities, but where I am, I've seen a couple around here, but there are some. Yeah. So they're able to map it here too,
Yeah. No, there's 19 AI systems in this car, and it fully self-drives, at some level. You can say you're supposed to keep your hand on the wheel. You can say it doesn't do that intersection, it does that one. But it's starting to get really amazing. And Elon says in the next few days, we're getting an update that's going to be mind-blowing, he said. So we'll see. This is already mind-blowing. So, it's like, wow, if something mind-blowing on top of mind-blowing comes, then, we'll see where we are in a week or something.
I missed you had a little chat about Elon the other day before his broadcast on Saturday Night Live, but I did see SNL. I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was pretty cool of him to tell the world he has Asperger's. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that either.
And
that was really interesting. And although it totally makes sense, most of the tech industry leaders have some Asperger's in them, because that's why they're good at technology, right?
I know, it makes you just want to figure it out. They have a
brain. Well, they have a brain that they don't care about people. They care about, sitting in front of a screen and figuring out a lot of detail, right? And being able to store all that detail in their head. My son's autistic, so I watch, like, he could tell you about 1960s Godzilla movies in detail. I can't do that. I don't care.
It's right? I think it's
that
just
kind of mind.
It's almost like the spectrum opens up other parts of the brain that allow more to happen, and it's just like, if we were to understand it, you might not look at it as an ailment. It might be a part of the Darwin in a weird way,
Yeah, it's a spectrum, right? My son's in the middle of the spectrum, so he didn't get hit with a lot of the genius side of this stuff, right? You see Rain Man, and you start seeing people who can memorize very weird things. That's the Asperger's side, right? And then the other side is really a disabled person, can't speak, can't work, can't do very much things for themselves, right? And that's one side of the spectrum. The side of the spectrum that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon are on, it gives you some challenges with social, right? You're not an autistic person can't look in your eyes very easily. It confuses their brain, and they don't like doing that. They don't like having small talk, right? They like going straight to telling you about Godzilla, right?
Well, because small talk feels inefficient.
It does to that kind of brain. They'd rather look at their iPad, right, or do something else, right? These kids are very interesting to be around because they communicate very differently. They look at the world very differently, and their focus level is usually very different than ours. So they can sit and focus on something for a long time. So,
I think you're probably
that's how you learn how to code, right? I can't learn to code because I can't focus on that black screen for 2,000 hours, trying to figure it out.
How I learned to code a little bit, which I'm not a coder now, but I took computer science and I had to learn. I had a book when we were younger in public school. We would get books from the book club, and I got a computer programming book that had Atari 400 games in it, and I would type them all in 10,000 lines and use a tape deck cassette to save it and literally play the game. And if it didn't work, I'd be so mad, but then I'd just type it again and it would work. And then I would go in and figure out how to make it so I couldn't die. And that was the beginning of it. Yeah, that was really neat. Wow.
I worked at a programming magazine and learned a little bit, but I never took it up. It requires looking at the world a little differently than I do, and I'm not good with languages. My brain doesn't pick up languages very well.
I want to talk a little bit about security, because last night I was listening to you guys on the room, and I thought it was very interesting that I'm a computer science person. I know a lot about things, but I feel like even with what I have, I'm still like, okay, so now what do I got to do to secure everything? And I wanted to talk a little bit about the hardware key, the MDA token for the Google
Before
Gmail.
that, my suggestion is everybody needs to start putting an hour a month on their calendar where they're going to just do research on security. That's all I want you to do. Go to Google, type how to make yourself more secure, right?
I like that, but
password.
I feel like I'm beyond that because of my background and what I do.
I get that. But most people, even in your background, don't think enough about it and don't research how to pick passwords, don't research hardware keys, don't research how to keep yourself secure. Don't look at other people who've gone through hacks, right? And learn from them. That's how I learned a lot.
Well, you said,
I read everything. I read everything. When there's somebody who says I got hacked and I lost all my money in crypto, I read everything about that. How did that happen? Right? Because
well, you said it last night.
Protect my stuff.
People could steal your NFT. Like,
we're moving. Get out of the buzzwords. We're moving more of our value into computers, right? If you have 10 NFTs on the wall and they cost $1 million a piece, that's $10 million on your wall in digital stuff, right? And if somebody can come in and steal that from you, they will. So you have to, when you buy a new house, you have to look at the locks, right? And then say, hey, should I upgrade my locks, right? And same thing here. You need to upgrade your locks. You need to do some research. 1 hour a month. And
no, I 100%.
You're going to have a different conversation with me. Even you will have a different conversation in Europe if you do an hour a month of research, because you're going to start really getting nerdy about it, and then we can have a nerdy conversation about it. Right?
I think
most people are not even there. Most people have shitty passwords. Most people don't use multi-factor authentication. They don't even know what it means when you ask them. Right? They go, "What is that?"
But that's what I want to start spreading to my musician friends, that I think can learn something from this, is that they need a hardware key for their Gmail, because Gmail is where everything lives. And you said if someone gets your Gmail, you're fucked. But what are these people doing?
And the reason for that, if I get into your Gmail and kick you out and I take over your Gmail, most of the other services will, or your email account, most of the other services will send an email to that account saying, hey, here's a way to reset your password, right? So if I have access to your Gmail, I can do that to all your other services. Now I have your bank, I have your video game accounts, I have your Twitter account, your Instagram account, your Facebook account, because you didn't do what was needed to keep the hacker out of your email system. And that's job number one: protect your email.
Hardware,
because that's the
MDA
center
token
of everything.
So,
and we can talk about, how do you go from no security, like a shitty password and no security, to pick a good password. Go do a Google search on that. There's plenty of information on how to pick a real password. There's plenty of reading.
I've been looking at,
I've done it.
like rainbow tables and how long your password has to be to get hacked. And like, they can hack it in this much time if it's this long. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I use LastPass as well. I use LastPass. Do you still like LastPass?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to pay for it now. It used to be free.
If you want to split it up between the mobile and the desktop, you have to pay for it.
Yeah. But back to the security. So if you're somebody who uses password as your password, right? And I know people like,
I know, they're like,
right?
2021.
I'm like,
company name.
How are you using this as a how are you not thinking about this? You're living in a digital world now. You better start thinking about this stuff, because you're about to get ripped off, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. If you have $100,000 of crypto and you don't know about security and you haven't thought about security, you're gonna get ripped off, man. That is easy to do if you don't have good password strategy and you don't have, a way to bind up your system. So anyway, so the hardware key, I should go get my hardware key. There's a little thing you stick in a USB drive.
Yep.
It gives you a specific number off of that hardware that goes into the Gmail, and then Gmail goes, "Oh, you're here. Thank you."
It's like an iLog.
In other words, you have to type in your password, and you have to put your key into the computer and click a button on it so that the computer goes, "Oh, okay, you did your second factor. Now we know it's actually you."
What if you lose that thing?
There's ways to deal with it. You can click on "I lost my key" and they'll teach you. But you should do some research on that.
Yeah.
How to make sure you have your real keys printed out and in a safe deposit box somewhere, right? So if you lose your key, you can still get those things and get back.
And it has to be off-site storage so it doesn't burn down with the house.
Well, that's number one. Right? Security never ends. That's why I say it's an hour a month. You got to spend the hour a month. If you don't spend an hour a month, you're not going to think about all this stuff. You're going to have weaknesses and you're going to have blind spots. And you're just not going to have the vocabulary to have a conversation with us about security, right? And keeping yourself safe. And this stuff really does matter. Now, Apple is going with face recognition and a fingerprint, and soon they're going to look at your eyes. So these big companies eventually are going to get rid of passwords and just do the security for you because they know we suck at it. But until that happens, it's on us, particularly if you're going to get into crypto and start storing value in a USB key, right? I mean, you better think this stuff through, because if somebody gets that, you're dead and you lost $100,000 or your life savings, right?
Yeah, it's super, super like crazy, especially how like people have money and don't know how to use stuff. It's so funny.
Yeah.
You must see that a lot.
No, it's true.
There.
But we're going into a world where you must do security research an hour a day, even if you're a mom,
an hour a
month, if you're a kid, an hour a month. Just do some Google searches and do it once a month. That's all I need. If you want to do more, go for it. But do an hour a month, and you're going to get, in a year, you're going to get pretty up to date, right?
That's great.
Because you're going to start picking better passwords. You're going to understand what we're talking about with these hardware keys. YubiKey is the company I use. Google has a hardware key called Titan. If you're a Mac user, that works great because it's a Bluetooth thing that you just click on when you try to sign into Gmail for a new time.
That's the one I was interested in.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The YubiKey is much more flexible. LastPass uses YubiKey.
Oh, really?
Many others. Oh, yeah. Facebook uses YubiKey and others use YubiKey. So
good to know.
Well, whatever. You pick one. One is better than none, as they say, right? If you have the Google one, at least you raise the fence around your house up a little bit, and it's harder to steal stuff from you now. Right? So, it's not impossible, because security is, I mean, if China's coming after you, they're going to get you, right? They're going to get into you. But what you're trying to make it is hard for is the average everyday criminal stealing your stuff.
So they'll go to the next person instead of you.
Absolutely. It's the same thing as putting a good lock on your front door, right? Why did you do that? So that people can't pick your lock as easily as the next guy,
Interesting.
Or get a digital lock, so now you can unlock the door when you're walking toward it, right? That's
so. What I know you mentioned Tutu. Are there any artists you liking these days? Any new artists that you're talking about, or anyone that's really, really blowing the doors off your headphones?
Yeah, you're breaking up there. I'm not sure if you're still hearing me.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Oh yeah, there's a whole group. Yeah, sorry, you're just your bits are flaking out somewhere between my phone and you. So we're getting
there. I'll turn the video off for a second.
Bit of a yeah, that'd be cool. Are we doing audio only, or are we doing video?
Video and audio. I got Zoom, and I'm recording it with another camera, and I'm going to edit it all for YouTube later. Cool. Yeah, I'm not. This is definitely not streaming.
Oh no problem. I just you turned off your camera. So I was like, oh, are we doing audio only? Because I'll turn off mine too.
There I am. But yeah, I'll turn my camera off because I have another camera here anyway that's filming me from the whole
Okay,
room.
that's cool.
I've got you on a video
fine.
screen next to me. Like I'm trying to do like the Jimmy
Awesome.
Fallon thing where he has a video screen and the person there, and I'm also recording the Zoom. And I just bought Pro Zoom like 2 days ago.
Very cool. So yeah, enough about security. What were we gonna move
Music.
on to now?
Music.
Music. Music is about to see a rejuvenation, because even if you have old masters, you are going to be able to re-release those masters in spatial audio, and people are going to walk around your band or your performance in a new way, right? And that's coming next year. So you have to start thinking about, oh, where's my masters, and do I have multi-track masters to go back and re-release?
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
I had to get 2-inch
Right?
tapes
So-
dumped down to digital from our very first artist just so we could get them and I could like remix stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And the 2-inch tape is analog, right?
Yep. The drums sound great.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is
Yeah.
we did some stuff
Neil
where
Young
we
took
took
me
the
into a studio and we listened to analog on his 2-inch tape, and it was amazing. And then we listened to the same recording on high-end digital equipment that he used to cut the master up into digital, and we listened at 600 kilohertz per second, which is very, very fine resolution digital, right? CDs are only 44.1 kilohertz. And so 44,000 times a second, it's taking an image of your music and slicing it up.
well, there's a trade-off
quantizing.
there, right? 96K, is really the most you want to go to right now, because otherwise you're spending too much
Yep.
disk space.
Yep. It's always a trade-off, right? Do you want more resolution? Do you want better quality? Do you want closer to analog?
I think 24-bit 96 is good for most stuff.
It's pretty good, but there was a difference from 600. Right?
Well, but my
You hear a
difference
little
is
tiny difference. Yeah?
I'm saying 24-bit instead of 16-bit.
Uh-huh.
And
That's
I'm
true.
saying up it to 24-bit and up it to 96 for now if you're doing stuff. What you're saying is obviously higher, but
Well,
generally, I think
Spotify and Apple Music are coming out with high resolution music services this year. Tidal is already out there, right? So, and you can hear a little difference between Tidal and Spotify, because Spotify is down at the lower res, at the 44, and then they're doing a lot of compression to save space and make it possible for your phone to get music anywhere, right? So, yeah, the music industry is fun, isn't it?
I did a record and
anyways.
lockdown happened.
Oh yeah, this new world is coming where we're going to have infinite surround sound, and we're going to have sound programmatically put on the real world. So Volvo told me about this. Volvo and Apple are working together. They're putting a 3D sensor on the dashboard of the new cars, and there's another sensor that looks at you. And there's a couple reasons you need to do that. First, if there's a few microphones around your windshield, right, an array of microphones, which is how noise canceling can be done. If they know where the sound is coming from in 3D space, they can focus the attention of those microphones using a computer. That's what array microphones do.
And
that's
they
why
can,
this headphone has 9 separate microphones on it.
and
right?
because it's a fabricated product that they've made themselves, they know where all the noise comes from. They know if it's noise from the road, and they've already tested all this.
Well, even better, if my mouth is right here and there's microphones here and a 3D sensor aimed at my mouth, it knows where my mouth is, and it can get rid of all other noise. It can just focus right on my mouth because it knows I'm talking to the windshield because I'm on a Zoom call or something like that.
How does that work for an
Or I'm-
acoustic guitar performance with a bunch of acoustic artists? That'd be pretty cool, having like each instrument dialed in by this microphone setup or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it would work on with the instruments. You can put microphones on the instruments, so which is what you really want to do now. Now you want to make sure each of your instruments is on a separate track on your master, because
absolutely.
You're going to need to spit those separate tracks out on spatial audio soon. And so next year, you're going to have some new work to do
Well,
to rethink your audio masters, right?
what I'm doing right now is figuring out how to stream, right? Like if I'm at a concert and I'm performing and I'm also streaming, I have to make sure that I'm using Ableton. I've got guitar in, I've got my drummer is electronic drums. They have to be fed into my setup. And then the mix has to go out. So I'm going to the front of house with my stereo backtracks and then my guitar and my vocal. And then we're going to have to use another sound card to put the drummer's drums on it, because I'm only using one universal audio sound card right now. And it works. Cool. But we figured it out. So it can scale it up to Staples Center.
If you're going to distribute that on Spotify or on Apple Music, they're going to have spatial audio services by the end of next year. So
that's a big thing, musicians. Spatial audio, learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Damn.
And learn what that means. If you get these new Apple headphones or even the Apple AirPod Pros, the little ones, they have spatial audio now, and you can get an app called Spatial Bliss, which puts you into a soundscape, and then you can move sound all the way around you. It's really cool on an iPhone. So
I wonder what these guys
play
can
with
do.
that for an hour, and you're going to start realizing, oh, okay, we now are not just putting audio on 2-channel anymore, right? Like when I sold stereos in the 80s, I had 2 speakers. Everybody bought 2 speakers, right? And had an amplifier for two channel. That world is over. We're going into a 1-million-channel world now.
But just adding the left
channel
from mono to the left and the right allowed you the ability to know where stuff was.
Yes, but
it's another. Now this is the next.
Now is next level. You can put sound on my steering wheel. You can put sound on my mirror. You can put sound on a button. Volvo said the buttons are going to talk to you when you touch them.
Right, because nobody knows what the buttons do.
Yeah, well, and also you can do all sorts of music or sounds. Or in this Tesla, we have fart noises, right? So you can do all sorts of fun things if you know where that button is and know how to apply sound to that programmatically. But that requires you to think of sound as a discrete thing that you would put on a specific thing, right? And that's a new skill for a musician, because you don't think like that. You don't think about, oh, could we do a concert in somebody's kitchen and put the guitar on one Coke bottle and put the trumpet on another Coke bottle? You don't think like that. So,
but you could.
You will have to by the end of next. No, you will have to by the end of next year.
Very. So this is why I talk to you.
Do you want to get ahead of the game or not?
This is why I talk to you.
That's all.
Good stuff, Robert.
Yeah. You can react to what the market is telling you to do and be later, or you can be first.
Well, I think the people who are first are like the bigger artists in the world, like Marshmello, who have the budget to try it and be allowed to have Fortnite say, okay, why do you want to try this? Because they know each other, it's like kind of nice. But
it's easier to do things when you have money, particularly if you're going into volumetric, because you get if you're going to want to record your band and put it into my living room, that requires a volumetric studio. That costs money, thousands of dollars a minute.
Well,
so, and maybe a little less going down now, but it's still fairly expensive, and it's still a time-consuming process, and you have to have a tech team that can do that.
I've offered to be a guinea pig for anyone who wants to try it. People that have a tech team, but they don't have an artist. And if you know of anyone or hear of anyone, I got an album done. I've got everything ready to go. Did I send it to you, by the way? I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you did. It's awesome.
Oh, good. I'm glad you heard it. We got airplay on a bunch of places, even in LA and even here, and we're just kind of working on a distribution deal. And I have a manager and a lot of people. Finally have a drummer, so I'm excited. But Robert, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. I think it's really interesting to hear all the great stories you have.
The reason spatial audio is happening, by the way, is video games are built on Unity. 60% of video games are built on this platform called Unity, which is a public company, right? And the others are built mostly on the Unreal Engine. Both of these engines automatically put sound on volumetric pixels around you, right? They automatically give you spatial audio that you can walk around a band and hear the band from different angles. So we're going to get this because, right?
Right.
because Unity is coming to Apple's headsets, because Apple is coming in the next year with a new headset that's going to be mind-blowing, because Facebook is doing the same thing, because Snap is doing the same thing, because. So that's why I think why we're talking, right? It's time to start doing some research and, you know, and thinking about what would you do with augmented reality in somebody's home.
My friend Laura Escade, she has an amazing company called Electronic Creatives. They do like stuff for the weekend and people like that, really cool stuff. They were doing something at the Wisdom with Unreal Engine, I believe, behind them. Yeah. So they're using, artists I know are using Unreal for live, and it's pretty cool. Were you thinking maybe Unity would be would Unity be used instead of Unreal, or do they work together? I don't understand it.
I'm expecting now Unity is better for shitty little GPU. So, okay, let's get nerdy a little bit.
Okay.
Inside the visor that's coming, which is like these headphones, right? These headphones are over your ears. They cover your ears. They don't let the real world come to your ears anymore. They have microphones that capture the real world, digitize it, and put it in your ear. That's great. But when we get the visor, everything that you see is either a point or a polygon, a triangle, or a hexagon, or a voxel, a volumetric pixel, which is like a little digital sugar cube. And each sugar cube can play music, right? So think about that. There's millions of them around me in this Tesla. If I have these glasses on, it's seeing the world at some small resolution and putting stuff on there. All of that work needs GPU, needs a graphic processor, because all of the little virtual sugar cubes are being created by the computer, right? And the computer that's inside a headphone is small. It's not like a big ass NVIDIA card that's this big in the middle of your PC.
Right.
So if you want to do something that has some graphical, that looks like the real world, right? That's probably Unreal Engine with a big ass NVIDIA card. If you're going to go down from that a little bit with a Oculus Quest, a Facebook device, or this new Apple device that's coming, you won't have quite as many polygons as a high-end NVIDIA card has, right? $1,000 NVIDIA card. But it'll be, you can wear it while walking around, right? Without a cord corded into your NVIDIA card, right?
Right.
My first VR machine, I had a cord that went into my NVIDIA card, right? Now I don't have that. I just have an Oculus Quest that is
finally untethered.
Yeah, and most of the platform that works the best with these smaller GPUs is Unity. And so I'm expecting Unity to be doing a lot of stuff with Apple next year. In fact, Unity showed me that you're going to have bands in your kitchen, and it's going to be pretty mind-blowing. Think about being at a Lady Gaga concert in your kitchen and having the full stage in your kitchen. It gets rid of half your kitchen, and the other half is Lady Gaga, performing for you.
So musicians, make sure you have your stems ready and properly split up with all your instruments separated, and don't let the producer keep those tracks on you.
But this is why I want you to get a VR headset, because it causes you to start dreaming. What would I do if I could put sound all around me like this? What would I do with video games? What would I do with movies?
Well, you could have a studio that has gear in it that you don't own.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Gear, virtual gear.
The virtualization of the world is coming, right? That's why we spent some time talking about security. If all your machines you bought virtually, or rented from Amazon or some service, you gotta secure that shit. Otherwise somebody will come in and fuck it up, right?
Exactly. I love that on my phone. I use iRig, and I can pick from amps that I want. I don't even have to buy them anymore. I can just you can do things now like that again. And thanks for coming on my podcast. This is the first one, inaugural The Musicians Insider. That I believe that any musician who watches this will get tons of information about security just from you. So thank you. And I can't wait to play a show somewhere where you guys can come check it out. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Can't
for showing
wait.
me your Tesla.
Thanks.
And
yeah, no problem. And I'm on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, all the usual places.
if people want to look you up on anywhere, like
SCOBLE, just search it and you'll find me.
Scobelizer.
Yeah, Robert Scoble.
All right, man.
Scobelizer on Twitter is the best place.
Join a Twitter chat with us. We'll come talk to you soon. And you do that pretty much all the time. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Drive safe
Awesome.
into your home.
Keep
Great
it
to
up,
see you,
man.
buddy.
Keep entertaining the world. We need more music in the world. You know, I've been a little out there. I love music. I love going to music. I love going to live music, right? I've had musicians playing concerts in my kitchen for real. It's badass, right? Well, dinner with Slash, right? So I've been around. It's just I think about distribution, and I want you guys to make some money, right?
I hear you.
You know, and you start looking at Coachella can get 20,000 people in the Sahara tent. Yeah, there you go.
That's
you
Slash's
collect
pick.
them too, huh?
There's Slash's
That's
pick.
great.
And there's
That's
Dimebag
awesome.
Darrell's pick.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I can't wait to get back out there, but we're actually I can't even get a haircut. I'm like Giorgio Tsoukas. We are locked down in Ontario.
That's why I got these hat on and the over-ears headphones. You can't see my messy hair. You know? Thanks, man.
I can always put these on.
Those if you were wearing those around, I'd be like, oh, you got the Apple glasses already, man. How did you get those?
Exactly. All right, my friend. I'll catch up with you sometime, and thanks for joining the podcast. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm really good. Welcome to the Musicians Insider. This is my podcast. I run from my home office, my spot of jamness. This is on
very cool.
You're swiveling on top of my hoverboard.
Dig, I like it.
You have a nice wall of guitars behind you there, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, that's some of them.
For a second, I'm like, is that an image or is that real? I'm like, damn, that's pretty incredible.
That's real. I could give you the tour if you want.
You know what? I would like have nothing more than ask you to give me the tour. Let's see what you got.
You want to do that now?
Sure, why not? And then we'll talk a little bit. Actually, let's just give a little introduction first. So
yeah.
Welcome to the Musicians Insider podcast. I'm Aaron Cronus. What I do is I like to interview musicians and artists and people in the industry around the world and ask them for advice to give to my audience about how perhaps they could one day do what you're doing or learn from your experience.
Great. Cool.
Pretty chill. I don't have any questions printed out to read to you from ChatGPT or anything weird like that. It's just a conversation. And
I need some answers from ChatGPT, actually.
It's all about making a really long question prompt.
Right. Yeah.
There's a job now called a prompt engineer.
Nice.
So let's do the tour. Why not?
Cool. Yeah. Let me see if I can flip this around. Yeah, it's cool.
Great.
I can even zoom and stuff.
Oh, right
the
on.
The wall of the more used stuff. This is where I usually end up down here.
You're such a session player.
Les Paul or Stratland. I have this cool telly that I built from Warmouth. You know that company?
WARMUTH?
OTH. They're in Washington State. And you can kind of, it's like you do it yourself kind of thing. So it comes and there's just a body and a neck and parts and you put it together.
Oh, I would never trust myself for something like that.
Man, I did it in a weekend and I'm not handy. It was really, really cool.
What kind of tools?
Then, over here we have the
sitar,
slightly less used stuff. And then some other weird stuff, even less used stuff back here.
So for the kids at home, a session guitar player, this is what their studio can sometimes really, really grow into stuff like this. Look at all the guitars and pedals and everything.
And I guess all the people listening on the podcast only are just have already tuned out and are listening to something else now.
That's the best part of it all. We're not describing what he's showing too much, but I do have, my podcast is a video, and I do encourage people to go to the YouTube channel and watch these as well. But yeah, he's showing me an amazing
collection of instruments and amps and everything in his different rooms.
This used to be an ISO booth, but now it's just spillover for other stuff. And then let's see. And then so here's some amps over here. These are all on I have 4 heads on a head switcher, so I can real quick go back and forth between sounds. Got some pedals on the floor.
I like the Vox
pedals on the shelf. Yeah, that's actually modified, but it does sound very good.
I modified mine too. Interesting.
Yeah, and then I use my little controller, so I can pretend to be a real engineer. I got a little bit of outboard gear, and that's kind of it, you know. What else do you need?
Someone to push all the buttons.
Exactly, I do need that, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's really cool. Well, I definitely want to ask you a couple things. You know, like I did read a bit about what you've been up to, and I see that you've done some pretty big things. So I think what I'd like to ask you for is maybe just tell me a brief history of kind of a little bit about yourself, how you ended up kind of where you are. And then I'd also definitely want to ask you a tiny bit about Joe Satriani and a little bit about a couple of other things you've been doing, like the Foo Fighters and stuff. So that sounds really neat. So let's hear a little bit about where you've come from.
Okay, first I maybe need to clear up something. I think the Joe Satriani Foo Fighters thing, those are credits for a producer that I just worked with on my new record.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't want to. I'm always kind of you see people that put these credits on their site or whatever, and you're like, wait, you really did all this? And then you find out like, well, no, like that was really a stretch. So I personally try and you know, not do that.
Hey, no problem.
So,
I was
full disclosure, yeah.
Honestly, I was skimming through the information about you, and when I saw those names, I just thought I jotted their names down and thought, ask about them. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, we can circle back to that. Well, actually, we can maybe touch on that now. I have a new record coming out in the fall, and I worked with the great producer Jim Scott. So he was Rick Rubin's engineer for many years, and he also worked with the Foo Fighters. He did one of the more recent Joe Satriani records. He's done Tom Petty, Wilco, Tedeschi Trucks Band, just a lot of my favorite records. He's got this crazy studio up in Santa Clarita that's like this wonder emporium of just insane amounts of gear. Actually, on my Instagram, I have a few videos of just walking around the place going like, wow, look at all this stuff. And he's just one of those old school engineers that gets, you know, you do one take and then you walk in the control room for a playback and it's like, whoa, it sounds like a record already. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Really, so
really
like
fun.
I think the new record, what's it called?
That's a good question. I've got a few working titles kicking around in my head. You know, it's funny. It's all instrumental. I don't sing. I wish I did, because life would be much easier if I sang. I could play music that fit into a nice little box. So when people said, "Oh, what's your music sound like?" I could say, "Americana singer-songwriter," or, you know,
well, it doesn't.
Rock,
just so you know, it's not that easy. I'm a singer. My artist name is Cronus, and I do it all myself. All of it. And it's still extremely difficult to break above the crowd, even though, like, what do you do? Alt rock using EDM tools?
Right. Yeah. There's probably, you know, a subgenre for that though on Spotify. So
hopefully.
But yeah, so I play instrumental music because I don't sing. So the guitar kind of takes the lead vocal role. And I grew up playing everything. You know, I kind of started at the tail end of the hair metal era. And then as it was transitioning to grunge, so that was like kind of, that's all kind of in my DNA with a lot of classic rock. But then along the way, I made a pretty sharp left turn down the dark jazz highway.
Oh, wow.
And I stayed there for a few years. So it's kind of got all these elements. And I've just been kind of calling it like instrumental blues, like in the style of Jeff Beck and Larry Carlton.
I noticed you mentioned that you do some stuff at the Baked Potato. I used to live in Burbank, so I've been there a lot.
Oh, great.
I'm near Toronto now. Pandemic sent me back. But yeah, man, I'd love to hear about some jams. You probably know Andy Sinisi, a drummer. I had him on one of my tracks, and I know him pretty good from that place too.
Yeah, I just saw Andy the other night. We went to see a mutual friend play at this little place in Santa Monica. So
I
yeah,
miss
I love Andy. He's
I miss
incredible.
LA so much, my friend. Yeah, he played with Frankie Valli at a little casino near us here in Rama, Ontario, and he put me on the guest list. I got to go hang out with him and see the Big Girls Don't Cry and My Girl songs. That guy's
Great,
like
yeah.
90 something. Wow,
It's
he's old.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. How is
Hope I'm
LA?
still doing that when I'm 90.
Whereabouts are you? Like, you don't have to tell me specific, but are you like in Santa Monica or where are you
I'm
at?
in the Valley in Studio City. I'm actually about 8 minutes from the Baked Potato.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it works out. I love that place, man.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I've had a lot of weird band meeting things go there, but like where you go to meet people, you go there.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
I also really miss the rainbow. I tell my friends about it all the time. I miss just hanging out near the Lemmy statue and enjoying the air.
Right. Yeah. And probably not the same with him gone now.
Right. I mean, but what do you do? I did see a band play at their 40th anniversary. I think it was Kicks. And then I think Matt Starr is now with Kicks. All these
Okay.
people are now joining up and doing crazy things.
Yeah.
Do you go to the NAMM show every year? Is that something you've been doing, or you've probably been a lot?
I'm one of the few that love going to the NAMM show, although I haven't been able to go the last couple of years. So, but yes, I do enjoy going. There's also like an amp show that was happening out here. I love all that stuff. It's fun.
You're definitely a gear pig, and I feel you. I have my Ernie balls here. I got a
Yeah, I saw that.
I got a Majesty. This is my favorite guitar in the world right now. Oh my God. Like, if you get a chance. And like, all I do is I flip to the piezo for clean, go back for heavy, and that I use Ableton to do my switching.
cool.
And this is just a JP6 as well as this one here. Really, really love those guitars. Ernie Ball is my crew.
They're great guitars, and I love the people who play them, especially Steve Morse. He was a big influence on me.
I got to meet him at NAMM a few times. Real nice guy, and like he knows how to play like the right way, like the right songs.
He was a big influence
because he wrote
it
them.
was like, well, yeah, exactly. But it was like, oh, here's a guy who's just kind of down to earth, like he's not stumbling off the stage, and he's like flying planes and also writing this crazy music and making it happen. Like this kind of outside of the box music. He's just committed to doing it for so many years and has the respect of his peers. So it was kind of like he was somebody I sort of almost like maybe modeled myself after a little bit.
Right, session player. So on that note, if someone is watching this and says, I wish I could go to Los Angeles and be a session guitar player, but I can't afford to blah blah blah. But even though it's actually pretty cheap to live in LA if you know what you're doing, I would say, what kind of advice have you got for someone who maybe wants to try to do it from wherever they're at, or how do you get into it?
I would say be patient. It takes a while. I mean, I've been here almost 20 years now, and I feel like I'm finally kind of starting to reap some of the rewards of all my years of like just head down, nose to the grindstone kind of stuff. But also you got to stay well-rounded. I mean, as a session player anymore, you don't really have the luxury of having like 3 guitars on a date where somebody can go, okay, you cover the hard reading stuff, I'll cover, the acoustic strumming stuff, and a third person can just be like auxiliary, whatever else needs to be covered. So it's just like they need to be able to hire one person. Like this morning, I was doing this thing where it's acoustic guitar, ukulele, banjo, and dobro all kind of playing these cues. And I mean, if I had my way, I'd be just playing Steve Morse music all the time, But I love making people happy through the guitar. And so a lot of times that means playing dobro and playing banjo and figuring it out when they write stuff that's actually, hey, the banjo actually doesn't go that low, but maybe I can tune down, low enough to cover this part, or, all these little challenges that come up along the way, kind of navigating that stuff. It's a fun puzzle to solve for people. So again, getting back to your question about advice, I think you have to be, you have to play well with others, play nice in the sandbox. So when people do send you things, it's like, clearly a guitar player did not write this part, because no guitar player, it's not even physically possible to play these 4 notes on a guitar at the same time. But you can't come back to a person and say that. You have to
Here's
either
my
just
take.
figure out a way. You either have to figure out a way to make it happen, to where the effect that they're going for is achieved, or you have to, if you really need to, you can address it and say, hey, we need to maybe take a look at these bars. What's most important to grab here? I mean, the good thing is through the magic of Pro Tools, kind of anything is playable these days. But getting back to your thing about, oh, you need a button pusher, it's like sometimes I spend so much time doing this stuff in Pro Tools where it's like, hold on, I need another track, and then you have to name it so it looks pretty when they, because you're not just playing guitar anymore. You're engineering, you're running Pro Tools, you're producing and arranging on the spot. When you do get to a section where it's like, okay, this is unplayable, 9 times out of 10, I'm working by myself, and the client might be across the world, and it's, they're asleep because it's nighttime there, and there's not really, the turnaround is so tight. It just has to get done right now in this moment. So you really have to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, and it doesn't really make sense to have another person if you're the one getting paid for the gig, right? Because then you're paying someone else to do what you just need to learn how to handle your own.
Well, and that's, again, it's something I've actually tried a few times, and I haven't really found somebody who honestly is willing to work hard enough. And I think that's where nine times out of 10, people who, like I did, move here to do something creative, I don't know if they're willing to make the sacrifices that you have to make. I mean, you really have to put everything else to the side and make whatever it is that you moved here to do, your number one priority, to the detriment of probably most other things in your life for at least a good 10 or 20 years,
And I feel you. And I was just gonna say, I used to be in bands where like we were really blessed. We would hire the best engineers in town, and I got used to doing that, so I wouldn't ever compromise anything. So therefore, I'm like, I'm not mixing it because I can't. It's gonna never sound as good. Because I don't know, you seen Steel Panther? Because you're like,
sure.
So my buddy who was in our group mixer, Jay Rustin, amazing guy. He's their producer.
Yeah, I love his work. Yeah,
I haven't seen him in a while. I've been hoping to get him on here, but I was blessed to have him as the engineer when I did my first record, and he ended up joining our band for a bit because we had it's a long story, but love that guy. So after having his ears on all my mixes, like I was super hesitant about ever touching anything unless it was someone like him or better, which kept me out of really getting anything done for a while too. But found a good studio at Hollywood and Vine that's really cool called Excellent Sound, and they're more EDM. So I went to them and said, look, I want to do alt rock, but with EDM tools, and I use Ableton for everything. It's amazing. Very, very fun.
Cool.
But I don't do session work really. Like I'm not out like doing compositions and things like, and I think what you're doing is something that, it's a skill in itself to be able to craft, music for other people and not be attached to it too much and feel like you're giving away your babies. And that's something I wanted to ask you about. How do you not give away your best stuff when you're in it? Because sometimes you just like, oh, I got to use that part I wrote, and you're like, crap, that was mine.
Well, I mean, that's the job. And it's not like what's the expression, a zero-sum game. I mean, hopefully there's, an unending well of ideas that, I mean,
brilliant.
If you're doing your job correctly. And in a way that gets into a little bit of woo-woo life stuff. Like you do need to stay inspired and wake up every day coming in ready to make music. And you go through phases where you're like, oh, I played this part, I myself, like, I've found things where now I definitely do sometimes go, okay, I know this works, but like, please, let's find something else.
Less generic.
Well, also, it's hard because sometimes you are working on these projects for years with people, and they've come to expect a certain, level of density in terms of what you're giving them. A lot of times it's like, hey, we've got this, like I do these, they're like big parades for theme parks. You can guess maybe which ones they might be.
Yeah.
That anytime there's a new like Halloween, they do another big parade, or let's jump into
Clearly,
spring,
you're
or-
talking about Knott's Berry Farm.
So
Just kidding.
so all year long, you're getting these things, and a lot of times the ask, I guess you would say, is like, hey, we have this song about Halloween and it just sounds a little flat. Like, can you make the choruses pop? Can you make the verse not sound so stagnant? All this kind of stuff. So you do develop, tricks, or just, it's not even a trick. It's just things that okay, I know, like big
Technique.
power chords doubled and, that kind of stuff. These techniques that are going to work. Yeah. On the one hand, it's like, well, to your question about doing the same thing over and over again, it's like, if that's what works and that's what's going to make the person happy that who hired you, then that's kind of what you should do. Also balancing that with, like, I don't know, does it matter if you've done that 1,000 times? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I mean, this is getting into the art side of things versus the craft side of music,
Well, have you written a song for your next record and then ended up using it for a client because it was perfect, and then you can't use it on your album anymore?
Not really, because I'm not really doing any writing for the most part. I mean, I do some of that, but that kind of stuff is, I'm not precious about it. So,
Got it.
And it tends to be more like very much in a specific box, which is not the sandbox that I play in when I have my artist hat on. So I do have a new single coming out, and it's called Late to the Party. And it's kind of, harkens back to like the classic vinyl era, I guess I would say. And it's funny, to your question, what's it sound like? Usually people that are way into jazz go, this is rock. This is way too rock for me to like play on my jazz radio station. And then people that only play rock music are like, man, the guitar playing's cool, but it's a little too jazzy, to put on this playlist or something like that. So,
That means you're balanced on the fine line of the two, which is a good thing.
Maybe. Yeah, either that or I'm, again, following in Steve Morse's footsteps and making music that's just completely unmarketable.
Well, I think at this point, everything's marketable if you just market it.
Yeah. I try and look at it like, well, would I like this? I mean, in a way, like, it's like I'm making this maybe for like 17-year-old me, like, and I think like, yeah, I would be way into this actually. So I want to believe that there's, some kid out there who likes all the same stuff that I liked, and just wants to hear cool music made live in a room with human beings.
And now that live music has come back, are there any shows you've been planning to go to or gone to that have blown you away lately, or anything you'd recommend going to see, any tours, or what's inspiring for you?
I do frequent the Baked Potato quite a bit still. And actually, I just now I got an email. There's a great young guitarist named Pedro Martin. I believe he's Brazilian, and I saw he's playing there in 2 nights. So I'm definitely going to go check that out.
Way cool.
I just try and keep my ears open and, pay attention to things that are happening. And it is hard. And this is one of the frustrating things about being a musician is, I mean, there's so many times where, I mean, actually, this just happened. I was trying to get tickets for Shakti, John McLaughlin's kind of world music project. And it's down in Orange County, and I just got booked for a session that day. That's kind of like an all-day thing. So there went that opportunity to see music, But I mean, it's a good problem to have. But
lucky for you, where you live, people play there.
Yeah. We are spoiled here in LA. There's so much stuff coming through here all the time.
I did live there for a decade. 13 years. I just came back, and I'm missing everything. I'm going to a bluegrass festival on the 23rd of June in a place called Tottenham, Ontario. And you know why I booked that? Because I don't know any of the bands, and I just want to go to, like, I'm missing Burning Man again. We run the skateboard camp. I haven't gone in 3 years because of the pandemic. So I just want to go to some kind of festival and not care about missing some bands that I really want to see because I don't know who they are anyway. So it should be a great time.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like fun. I love doing that kind of stuff.
You know, why not? That's really neat. So anything else coming up that you'd want to maybe just tell our listeners about that isn't related to them becoming stars in any way?
Sure. So I have my hand in a few different projects lately. So last year, there's a drummer in town. He's been here for decades named John J.R. Robinson. He was Quincy Jones's first call. He played a lot, on a lot of Michael Jackson songs. He's been on I don't know, he's like one of Rolling Stone's greatest drummers of all time list and all this kind of thing. We Are the World and what else? Just all kinds of insane credits. And I got to know him just from playing around town, playing sessions. And we've always kind of said, hey, we should do something someday. So last year I got an email out of the blue. Andrew, this is typical JR fashion. Hey, July 11th to 12th, you around? Let's make a record. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. So he put together this little organ trio, and we went in the studio for 2 days, made a record. So it's myself on guitar, JR on drums, and a great organist from Omaha, Nebraska named Mitch Town. And we call it SRT, Sinowick Robinson Town. And man, it's crazy. That was less than a year ago. And we actually have a small record deal on a Japanese label. So we're actually getting ready to go do a tour of Japan in a couple of weeks. And this is all actually going to feature a great tenor sax player named Tom Scott, who was, again, in that kind of world, he's played on every top 10, back when there were saxophone solos on top 10 songs, back in the day. And he had his own band called the LA Express. So we're going to do some of our music, some of his music. And really looking forward to it. If you like instrumental music, I think it's going to be great.
That's a lot of fun. Well, the thing that's great about instrumental music is there's no bad singing.
Well, sometimes I sing along with what I play, so that there might still be some bad singing.
Just say you're using the talk box.
There we go. Yeah, Peter Frampton style.
Well, that's really neat, man. I'm impressed. Well, I'd love to hear some of it. I'll have to check it out. And so what you're telling me is you're big in Japan. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yes.
I've always wanted to have an instrumental band that was big in Japan, but someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I guess on that note, I think we've touched on pretty much everything that you're doing. I'll definitely post links to all the things you've got. I'll get your website and everything off you if you have one. And
sure. Yep.
Other than that, if there's any other last minute sort of advice you have for our audience that you want to give them as a takeaway, you can feel free to let them know that. Tell them how to say your name properly so we all know it, because people say Cronus, and it's supposed to be Cronus. Right.
Sure. So it's Andrew Sinowick. And I know it's a really cool name. It's not a stage name or anything like that.
And what's your background?
Jokingly. It's Polish, actually. Yeah. And what's funny is when I moved out here to make it in the big city, make it in Hollywood, I thought, man, should I change my name? Nah, that's too Hollywood, man. I don't want to do that. But cut to 20 years later, it's like just making a reservation at a restaurant. It's like, what's the last name? What? How do you spell it? If I could go back in time, maybe I would. But, one of the good things is it's very unique. So my website, andrewsinowick.com, was readily available. And it actually bodes well for my Google search results, as a matter of fact. So it's pretty cool on that front.
And my day gig is digital marketer, SEO. I was an SEO director out in LA for 13 years. So I'm going to ask you, but how's the search volume on that term? How many people are actually typing it? You know what I mean? So that's the thing, right? You're going to be looking at. So it's like, yeah, I can find my name on any username I need, but is anyone ever going to type it? You got to ask that question. And,
well, the good thing is, if people go, shoot, what was that name? If you get close and you put in the word guitar, you'll find me.
That's great.
I'm easy to find.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did you see Apple's announcement? Are you excited about it?
I did not. I kind of live under a rock sometimes, so you'll have to.
$3,500 for a pair of ski goggles that you put on. We'll see where that
Nice.
we'll see where that goes. I think it's exciting times, but I'm not a billionaire, so I don't get to play with those toys as much as the rest
Yeah.
of some of them do. But Andrew, great to speak to you. Thanks a lot for coming on the Musicians Insider podcast. You know, maybe in a year or so you can come back on and tell me how things are going, or if you have something new to promote.
Sure. I'd love that. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate
Great.
it.
Well, thanks a lot, and that's it for the day. So you have a wonderful day. Thanks very much, Andrew.
You too.
All right, so welcome to another season of the Musicians Insider. I'm really excited to launch this season, and our first guest is none other than Anonymous, who's an amazing artist from California, Los Angeles. I met him through some friends, and we used to skate together, and I'm really lucky that he rapped on one of my tracks. So I want to hear more about what is going on with Anonymous and what has been happening with your music career. I know the pandemic has slowed things down, but tell me about what you've been up to and what things are happening lately with your career.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Recently, you know, I just been working on videos. So I had when the pandemic started, I lost my job and I was on unemployment, but it was like a good thing in a way because I was getting a good amount of money. So I was able to do videos with my homie Nuncio. So we would do videos like at least once a month. And I was just inspired because I lost my job. I was like, all right, well, I got a means of income and I can use this money to, you know, turn that negative into turn into something positive. So, I mean, I made Better Days. I made Let's Shine. And I made every song after that kind of reflecting on my life. Then at some point I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of running low on money. I need to learn how to do this myself. So I bought a camera and started doing photography, learning how to do that, learning how to do videos. And now I'm at the point where I have my girlfriend shoot my videos and I just edit them. And so far, I mean, from the first time we did it, you know, some of the shots were shaky and, you know, we're just learning. We didn't have a gimbal or a stabilizer. Then I bought a stabilizer and we're learning from there. But each time we do a video, the quality is getting better. The editing is getting better. And yeah, man, right now, what I've been working on a project. I'm waiting to get like the cover done, and I've been writing songs, so I've been keeping busy. Right now, I'm just looking for a job.
Well, I've been watching a little bit of it, and as you mentioned, the production value every time gets better and better. I'm proud of you, man. It sounds awesome, and I was just wondering if you're doing any shows yet, but I guess it's kind of hard to book shows with this fucked up pandemic. What's the scene like in LA right now?
I know there's shows here and there, but I don't know how. As far as people are asking for your proof of vaccine or a proof that you don't have coronavirus, as far as that, I'm not too sure. I know some shows do ask and some shows don't. I guess depending on how big the venue is. I know the bigger venues are probably ask for it, but if it's like a small like event that's happening, I don't think they'd ask for it if it's outdoors. I mean, I think people still wear their mask, but I'm not too sure, and I haven't really been going to shows.
Right. Well, I think it's slowly coming back. I mean, hopefully next year we'll be able to do something. I'd love to play a show somewhere in the States, and I might do a tour next year. I'll let you know if we're anywhere near you. But I'm playing my first show. It's like a warm-up show in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks here in my hometown area. And I've been at the gym for a week with a trainer. I'm fucking dying. I have to drink 3 liters of water a day. It's the first time I've been in for a long time, so I have a new personal journey I'm working on that's just related to getting in shape for my next year. Trying to get rid of these bags under my eyes. I think it's because I've been eating the wrong food. So I never knew that when you work out, you're supposed to eat like a crazy regime of food. I didn't really know how to do that, and I'm kind of all over that right now. It's pretty fun. You been to any festivals at all? Anything at all out there?
I know they have like the EDCs and stuff like that. I know they're having like the Art of Rap. That's in I think in the next month. I think in October. I think that's sold out though. I know they're having shows right here. Like there's one with Ice Cube headlining, and he has a bunch of artists right there opening up for him. But I think it's all the same thing. As they're all asking for proof of vaccine, or to show that you don't have the coronavirus.
I had a talk with Parker, who we recorded with at Excellent Sound. Shout out to Parker and Excellent. Hopefully can connect a little more with him. I know he's doing a lot of really cool stuff. So
I don't know. I'd love to get you on another track sometime whenever we can. I really like what you did on So Gone. I mean, that was great. Perfect. Just what it needed. And so my purpose of my podcast, it's called The Musician's Insider. And what we do is it's kind of like, it's advice for musicians. So instead of asking you to tell me, all about, what you're doing, I do want to have that on here. I also want to know, like, what advice would you give a new artist that might be in your area or so that doesn't really have the resources to do things? I know you're a really killer DIY guy. Like, you'll sit there in a room with all the computers you can and make it sound amazing with whatever you got. And I'm impressed by that. So I'd love to hear some advice you have for some people that maybe don't have the resources you have, but maybe are in a similar situation, and you're pulling it off. So
yeah, I would just say just start with whatever you have and whatever you can get your hands on. If you just have a decent microphone or whatever, and you have a little room or a little space to record, I would just record and just learn how to get your flow on point. Well, depending on whatever, if you're gonna go do rapping or make beats, you just keep doing it. And if at some point you feel like you get better, show some people and to see the reaction. But I wouldn't fall too much on I mean, it doesn't hurt to show people to see what they think about your music, but don't take it too hard, especially when you're just beginning. You can't be too hard on yourself. You gotta learn how to have fun with it. And that's something I learned. Like, I would do something and I knew I wasn't that good. Because when I started with my cousin. My cousin was always better than me. And I would always fall off I wouldn't have it in my verses in sync. I'll be falling off into the next line, but he was always in sync. And I would get irritated. I'm like, fuck, man, I want to get better. But the thing is, it was something in me that just wanted me to get better. I just wanted to get better. So each time I would write a song, I would slowly, trim whatever fat I have in my verses to make it flow well. The transition to be smooth and clean. So I think you just have to have fun with it. And if you don't have resources, I would suggest hitting people up, go to studios. If you have the money, if you don't have the money, save up to buy your own equipment and then, learn from there. And I would say go to shows, do open mics, meet different people on Instagram, follow different artists as well, show love. Like, you can't just expect to get anything and you're not giving it, So I would just say, keep a lookout for other artists as well. Or I think if you're just around the right people and you actually want to do this, I see it like skateboarding. Like, people always ask me, oh, how do you get so good at skateboarding? How do you do that? I just tell them, like, well, you gotta know how to fall. Like, you gotta know how that as skateboarding, you're gonna fall and eat shit and it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna have to get back up and try that trick again until you get it. So I see that the same thing with music. You're gonna fucking fail so much until you finally land that one trick or get that one song that's really good, So
I love this. This is great.
Yeah, so that's the way I see it, and I always use that reference for music or anything in general. You'll be at a skate park filled with a bunch of other skaters, and some may be better than you, but you're trying this one trick and you keep trying and trying and you're falling, you're eating shit, you're failing, you're constantly failing, and other people are seeing this and they can be like, oh, he's not gonna get it, or whatever. They might think that whatever they want, but then you land that trick and they see like, oh shit, he was dedicated and he ate shit so many times up to the point where he finally got it. Like, he didn't give up. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. Like, people love to see someone like that. People want to see someone that constantly falls and falls, but when they get it, they like to see, like, damn, he has dedication and he's very passionate on what he does.
You only fail. You only fail if you go home before you finish.
Yeah. And there's times where you're gonna eat shit bad, dude. I'll be at the skate park and I'll fall all the way down from the half pipe and land on my back, and I'm like, all right, I'm done for today.
Yeah.
You'll have those days. Like, it's gonna happen, but you just gotta learn how to push through it and know that, hey, maybe today's not the day. You come back to it tomorrow. I think it's just that you can't be too hard on yourself, especially in the beginning stages too. Like, you can't. It's a lot harder when you have more years and trying to be like, all right, how can I be creative this time? What can I do differently to do that? And that's like the fun part too, to learn how to be like, all right, how can I step outside the box this time?
I definitely relate to that part. I got a lot of years, but I will say it's cool that, your positivity is coming through here. I really like it. And the main thing is don't give up, right? Stamina. That's my company's called Stamina. I've been working on this forever. I still haven't put out my first album. I'm like 2 albums in and I still haven't put it on an album.
But you've been releasing singles though, huh?
No, it's completely for this record Against the World. It's completely coming out soon, but it's not out at all. And we shot a new video. I'll have to show it to you soon. But yeah, I guess talking about the advice thing, I think it's really important that people learn from their mistakes, get back up, and like the skateboarding thing is a really good analogy. Only with the music, you really don't get physically injured.
Yeah.
So
you get more hurt. It's like, oh man, they don't like my music or whatever.
But
And
that's the
some
thing
ways-
is,
yeah,
it's like you can get past that so much easier if you just let it bounce off you.
yeah.
Skateboarding, I don't know how to fall very well. I keep breaking shit, so I'm having a hard time.
I've never broken anything, man. Knock on wood.
You're good at falling. You don't wear pads. I figured out what's wrong. I learned how to skate on ramps at skate parks, and so when you fall, you go to your knee pads or you go to your elbow pads.
Yeah.
And then when I'm street skating, I'm on a rail fucking bailing, and I'm trying to go to my elbow pads, and I put my arm down and break it because don't know how to fall. And it's not that kids don't want to wear pads, it's that they don't want to go to their knees. They want to roll out of it and run out of it, and the pads get in the way.
Yeah, because you're only allowed to bend so far with the pads on.
But maybe wear a helmet is what I would tell everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a fan of the helmet at all, but one time it did help me out. I was at a skate park and I was doing I think I was doing an overcrook on a ledge, and I slipped back and hit the corner of the ledge, but luckily I had the helmet. So that's the only time a helmet actually helped me out. But I mean, it's not because I wanted to wear it, it's because at the skate park you had to wear it because they don't want you to sue or whatever.
Do you remember? I think you were with me. I went to a skate park with Adam one time, way out near you guys, and there was like this thing where it went down and it went flat and it went up, and it was like those concrete kind of things. And I had my helmet on, and I tried something where I was trying to ollie like really high up to the ledge, and I completely missed, and I landed on my head, and I was the only guy there with a helmet.
Was it Burbank?
No, it was like out near you guys, like out that way. It doesn't matter, but it was. I just remember.
Where they were living at my grandma's house, around that area?
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. Yeah, and it was like a concrete one where it was like a lot of banks going down and flatten up, and it was a park I'd never been to very often. But there's a lot of people.
Okay, and it has like the brick side slope, right?
There's like those weird corner ones, like triangle corners everywhere too. Like you know what I mean?
It might have been 4th Street, right next to my grandma's house.
It sounds like it. One of those ones. And I remember just like landing on my head, and I was the only one with a helmet on. I don't know. I love snowboarding. I love skateboarding. I just need to keep that shit in its place where I can enjoy it. And I guess maybe I'll wear hockey gloves. I don't know how to fall properly. It's bothering me. I mean, I've been skating for so long.
Stick to half pipes, bro.
No,
I don't know why it's way easier to fall and catch yourself on a half pipe than in street.
Because you can slide all the way down.
Yeah, you can catch yourself, and even if you fall, you can kind of find your way to slide down. But there's sometimes you'll have those moments where you'll fall all the way back, and then you won't be able to slide.
So I broke my arm on a spine that was going from 7 feet high to 3 feet.
Yeah.
And I was doing something. I was going to try to do a fakie pivot over it, and then I'll just cross it first and practice. And when I was crossing, my foot fell off, and I did a tail block, and I dropped in. It was only 3 feet. But my foot fell off and I just fell weird. My hand went straight down. It's only 3 feet high. There's nowhere to fall. It broke. And I had a fucking wrist guard on.
And you can keep breaking your arms and legs, huh?
I'm just gonna play music. I'm not gonna ride the hoverboard on stage either. I have 2 of them right there, but all my boards are right there too. Let me see here. Can I turn that? Yeah, where is it?
Okay, so is it the same place from that company you used to work at? Or is it you still work for that company?
No. I'm at home. There's my hoverboards. I rented a place. I now live in Canada. And I have StaminaMusic. I'm working on a tour, hopefully, with a couple different things, maybe in the States in 2022. But just trying to get this podcast rolling, trying to put some pretty interesting people on. I had Ryan, my roommate, on talking about moving to LA. I thought that was a good thing where you could tell people what is it like to move to California from the East Coast and try to be in the entertainment business. Yeah. So any thoughts on anything like that's always wonderful. But tell me a little more about when your next album or next video is coming out, or what do you have next coming out?
Well, I have a project that I'm working. It's done already. Basically, I just been waiting to get a cover, but I'm calling it "So What." So it's basically on every album that I've done. Like for example, like my first project, I called it "Just Breathe" because I had a song called "Just Breathe," which is the song that sparked the whole project for me. And then after that, I had Touch the Sky because I wrote a song called Touch the Sky, and that sparked the next project. So for this one, I know it's been like almost 3 years since I dropped like an official project. I mean, I release singles here and there, but 3 years, and I wanted to drop something that kind of fit like the mood for those first two, to be like the trilogy to that. But I'm making it an EP, so it's like at least 7 songs on there, and it's all, you know, all the beats are by me. I mean, all the lyrics by me. I have a few friends that are featured on there. I've had a guy play a saxophone on one of the songs. I have a DJ scratch on a few songs too. So it's pretty tight, man. But as far as that, I should be releasing it within this next, I would say a month and a half. I got a video coming out, and that's the So What. I'm calling it, it's the So What music video. And I'm basically done editing it, and it's there. I'm just waiting to get that cover so that way I can add like, oh, coming dropping this album, the project's dropping on this day. And once I get that, I can start figuring out how to market it. Because that's what I've been doing. I've been learning how to do Photoshop and do all the stuff to learn how to have more content for Instagram to promote it.
What are you using for distribution?
What is it called?
Is it DistroKid?
DistroKid? Yeah.
Are you using that? So I used DistroKid when it first came out, and it totally messed up on me. But it was when they first started, and I think things have changed since then. Like it took, like they wouldn't respond, tracks wouldn't go up where they were supposed to go, and it was really, really awful. Actually, I had the hell of a time with it. That was like 2012 though, so I'm not here to knock DistroKid, but I'm just thinking like, how is that experience?
I mean, so far it's been good. Like I would post, like sometimes I know they say give it like a month before you post something, so that way if you're like planning on releasing it, you'll put a date, at least do it a month before. But I've done it like a few days before, and it still pops up like within that same day. So I think it just depends. I know on like it'll pop up on Spotify and stuff like that, but on some other like platforms, it might take a little longer.
And are you able to like make a release date and meet that date with that platform? Because I found that a lot of these platforms, if you try to do a release date, like you need at least, like you said, a month, but then it doesn't really happen when it's supposed to, and then they generate the links and you don't have them yet, and you can't do it all until you've released it, because then you get the link, you know, like the backwards kind of things that happen with that.
No, I mean, so far from what I've been doing, it's been working on me.
Awesome.
And it depends. I mean, I'll do it a week before, but at least give it a week. But there's been times I've done like 2 or 3 days to be like, all right, well, fuck it. I'm gonna like, it'll be like the song I did was called Light My Owl. It's basically me being at the house, it's getting high and shit like that. So I was like, all right, I was like, I'm gonna release this when I release this. And I was like, oh shit, today's 420. Fucking might as well. I forgot. I was like, all right, release today, and I fucking released it, and it showed up.
That's awesome.
Within the same day, I was like, oh shit, like, all right. I was like, all right. Well, I mean, like, I guess I don't know how. Honestly, it says some people say month, but I mean, it comes up for me.
So from what I've learned, generally you want to do like when you do release something, you kind of want to do a pre-release for like a month, where you say the first week you release like maybe the single, and then the next week you release a video, and then the next week you have like podcast interviews, and then the next week the album drops or something, like when you're going to put out the EP or the album. Try to have like some sort of like a very simple plan like that will actually really, really help you with your pre-release sales and things like that. And that's what I recommend to people to do. I'm still trying to figure mine out, and when it happens, it'll be interesting.
That's what I'm trying to, I've been having time to do it. It's just more like I have a whole like plan on my wall of what I want to do. It's like, I mean, I'm still a fan of physical copies and stuff like that. And I know people still do, like, will support that. So I want to make at least a limited amount. And at the same time, too, I want to make t-shirts of the project and stuff like that. So that way, I don't just like, oh, here's just a project. No, I got the physicals, merch. I got the merch, and then videos to go with it as well. So
I love what you're doing,
man.
man.
The whole rollout.
I don't have, like, my album hasn't come out yet. I don't have a record company that's got tons of artists or anything on it. It's just me. Mm-hmm. I got a great manager and some really cool people. My first show's coming up, but the reason I'm saying this is, like, if my deal allows me to distribute artists and things like that, I definitely want to, you know, hear what you're doing more, because me might be able to help you out. I would love to, because I like what you're like one of the best do-it-yourself artists I've seen, but you don't have the exposure you deserve. And I don't know what you have to spend money to get that, and that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of money on the production and the technical stuff. Like for my show for the last year, like I haven't really been able to sit around recording guitar parts because I've been busy creating how to play it live with all the backtracks and Ableton. And I have a drummer. I have a fucking drummer now, and he's awesome. His name's Jack, and he can sing. So, but I'm doing my first gig without him because he's out of town, and I'm just gonna do a warm up gig with some friends of mine in their band before they do some shows, and I'm gonna just play to the drums and stuff. But I gotta get that dialed in, and hopefully get some shows happening soon. I'd love to play a show sometime anywhere near you guys. Well, so thank you for coming on. What I'll do is I'll let you know when we're going to post this season 2. I'm pretty excited about it. If you have any releases coming up, please let me know and I'll put them on the podcast page. I can update it. And I'd love to have you back if you have more going on. And I'd love to see you if we have a show. Maybe you can come sing your verse somewhere.
I'm down, bro. Just let me know whenever you're in town or near my area. I'm down to show up to do that.
Can you fly to Canada for like the next 3 weeks for one half for a 30-minute show? Come up and sing one song.
I wish I had the money like that right now, bro. If I had the money like that, I wouldn't mind doing something like that.
Well,
I've never been to Canada, bro.
Do you have a passport?
No, I don't have a passport.
Get a 10-year passport so that when you have the opportunity, you're not like, oh shit, I don't have a passport. So there's some advice. If you want to go international with your music career, get a fucking passport.
Do you have to get the vaccine in order to get the passport or now, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, are you getting the vaccine?
No, I haven't gotten it.
So
I don't know if I want to get it, but I mean, at some point I know eventually I'm gonna have to get it.
Well, you know, I don't want to go on here and tell people what to do, but I would say talk to your doctor. Unless there's some reason you can't, you probably should, and then you can work. So as a musician, you can't do shows at venues that require double vaxes, and the testing is annoying. I mean, unless you have some reason not to get it, just fucking get the vaccine, people. Anyway, so enough about that. But I'm glad that you seem like you're doing real well out there. So hopefully we get to visit again sometime soon. And the places where people can find your music is the best place, your Instagram. And if so, you want to just tell me that and I'll put it up in front here.
Yeah, it's at Anonymous the MC94.
Yeah. Do you have a website?
No, I don't have a website right now. I had a website, but I got to get that going again. But you can find me on YouTube. Just type in Anonymous MC, and if you can't find that, just type in Anonymous Better Days, and you can subscribe to my channel from right there.
Excellent.
So yeah, usually I have all my singles right there. You can find me on Spotify. Just look up Anonymous Touch the Sky, and that should pop up right there. And yeah, pretty much any platform, SoundCloud. Even though I don't use SoundCloud no more, but it shows up on there.
And when you do write your lyrics, like, are you one of those people who can just rap on the fly? Like, are you good at that? I mean, I think from what I've heard,
freestyling.
Yeah, like, is that something you do, or do you like to record it and then trim the fat and go back and then like Dr. Dre that shit, or how do you?
Nah, like let's say if I write it, it usually just like I'll kind of like freestyle a little bit, not too much. Like I'll just start and I'll figure out like a line, and from that one line I'll just build off of it. Like I'll be thinking of this fucking, like the other day I was thinking about a line I said, like the higher the hill, the bigger the bill. The higher they say the higher the hill, the bigger the bill. I say the higher I am, the better I feel, or something like that. And that was because I was just driving. I was like, that's a funny little line right there. I'm gonna put that away and use that for something.
I like that. Like, that's cool.
And I was like, all right, that can be something that, like, if I find the right beat to it, because it wasn't like I listened to a beat and I wrote it. It was just like, that'd be cool to say. And I just wrote it down. And I was like, all right. Usually when I do that, there'll be like little stuff that I put away. Then eventually I'll find a beat and I'll put it and I'll listen to it. I'm like, that goes right there. And then I'll finish off the song like that.
So when that drops someday on some song, we'll link back from this podcast to that song. Love it.
I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it.
I think you should, man. And hopefully we can all get in a room together and make music again. That'd be fun.
Oh, definitely. I'm gonna release the Be All Right too.
I like it.
I know, man. My friend's been asking me to release it, and I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I need to release that. I'm gonna get it mastered too. So I have the stems to it. I know I have all the stems. I just need to go get it mastered. I have a homie that masters, so I'm gonna have him master it, and then release it. So man, I'm pretty excited for that. So I'm gonna have the So What project. Then after that, I have 3 songs I recorded with right there at the XLMT Studios.
Excellent, yeah.
Excellent. And I have 3 songs with that, so I'll just call it like the Lost and Found EP, since I recorded those songs like a few years ago and put them out.
It's still new until it comes out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have Boof Boof, and I'm working on more songs. So I'm like thinking like, all right,
I I got brand new music. Sorry to cut you off. I got brand new music that was written before you were born. It's brand new until it comes out, my friend. It's all brand new. So I know you're saying you've got lost things, but like you're still a brand new artist, you know? So like when you put something out, it's brand new. You don't have to tell people it's old because they don't care.
Yeah.
And they don't know unless they ask. I mean, like if for some reason it sounds older, but I think like if it's timeless, that's dope.
No,
Your shit sounds great. You spit really good lines. I love what you're doing. I'd love to hear more, and I wish you really well, man. So
man.
We'll have to reconnect again soon. Anything you want to say before we rock out today?
Just thank you for having me, bro, and for giving me a platform to, to share my music on and to show what I'm all about. So thank you for that, bro.
Oh, hey, anytime. And just so you know, like I know it seems like we haven't done much since we last saw you, but literally the record's still not out yet. So it's like all this time and it's like literally just about to happen. So thanks for your patience on all of that, and hopefully we'll make some money, right? All right, buddy.
Do a video for that song, dude.
Okay, so the first video is I'm Not Sorry. The second video is going to likely be Change. I don't know what the third video is, but it's going to either be Vibin' Me or So Gone. That's what I'm thinking. And if we do the video, I'm calling you. I might make you do this scene out there, but I'd rather be out there with you and do a whole shoot. We have a really good video production company. I think you're going to like I'm Not Sorry. I'll send it to you as soon as I can. It's not online yet.
For sure, I'm looking forward to that, dude.
All right, thanks, bud. And so this has been another episode of the Musicians Insider. I'm Cronus once again, and thanks for your time today. Thanks.
All right, thanks.